And hello, everybody. Welcome to the season finale of the Windshield Deep Racing League, live here from North Wilkesboro Speedway for the Blondies 200 Good American Food. It's a good logo. I like that. Sean Butler here. Zach Johnson is producing tonight. We actually have a legitimate producer instead of me, finally. That's, as you can tell by the production quality already. Kevin will be here in a little bit, so sit tight for you Kevin McAdams fans. But this is it. This is the season finale of season number 3. So realistically, we're going to have single car qualifying coming up in just a second here. It's a staple here for Windshield Deep in North Wilkesboro. They're going over the pre-race announcements, festivities right now. RJ and them are doing the whole deal. So if we could take a look and get everyone up to speed on the point standings for tonight. So we have an interesting race. It's essentially a 2-car race here between Andy Trupiano and Landon Huffman. Look at that, separated by 1 point. So essentially, it's whoever finishes ahead of the other tonight. So that should be interesting to see. Can Landon Huffman finally win his first Windshield Deep title, or will Andy Trupiano make it 3 consecutive series championships? We will find out at the end of 200 laps here tonight at North Wilkesboro. But as we mentioned, single car qualifying about to kick off. I'm not sure what the order is right now, but they are lining them up. RJ Williams is doing his best to get these boys in order. There you see Ricky Harden and that world fame, I don't know about world famous, but famous number 15 hard in the wall Chevrolet. There's Davey Davis in the bottom split car pulling up there as well. A lot of the same paint schemes. The only paint scheme I see differently is just a couple cars behind. Chris Davis, for some reason, is also in the 2 car, but he's listed as the 12 in the sim. But he's sporting like a nice little U.S. Navy silent service camo car. So that's a cool little car there for Chris. I don't know why they let him put the number 2 on it. So now we have 2 number 2s in the race. So right now, not that big of a field right now. We have, I believe, let's see, about 20 cars on the grid today, and Davey Davis is going to be the first car out for qualifying in that beautiful bottom split number 305. Davey was the slowest in practice, so that's how the order is determined. The slowest car in practice goes out first for qualifying, so Davey, unfortunately, was the slowest, so we'll see what he can do. Crosses the line 1 lap of qualifying here, so you got to put down a lap and make it count right away, as we see Davey just down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Can he better his practice time of a 20.025? Cross the line for Davey. It's a 19.740, so it goes down officially as a 739 in sim, but there you see 740. So good start for Davey. We'll see how that holds up. Much better looking lap in practice, or then his practice time, I should say. So that'll bring up next supposedly Dylan Wilson in the 77 car. Well, Jack Bailey's on the track now, so I guess that order is messed up. I ruined it. I'm sorry. But here comes Jack off of turn number 4 to take the green flag in that familiar Century 21 number 2. Making his way through turns 1 and 2. Oh, and he grazes the wall down the back straightaway, and that will nullify the lap. So Jack can keep going all he wants, but the lap will not count. Cross the line does not pose a time, so tough break for Jack Bailey. He will have to start in the back of the field for this event tonight. Moving on down the list, there's Ricky Harden, that number 15 hard in the wall Chevrolet Monte Carlo, making his way onto the racetrack. He makes his way through turns 3 and 4 to start his flying lap. Ricky with 11 starts on the season this season. No poles to his credit. No wins. 1 top 5, 4 top 10s on the season for Ricky Harden. Looking to finish out the year strong. I don't know why I said year, it's season, but you know what, you get it. Across the line for Ricky, a 19.048. So put Ricky on the provisional pole for now in that number 15 machine. And now we got the 12 of Chris Davis with his brand new paint scheme coming out here. Chris Davis currently sitting, let's see, in the point standings. I got the standings up here somewhere. I'll get them eventually. Chris had himself an on and off year. Doesn't have any top fives. He's got 2 top 10s to his credit. He does have a pole. As Kevin McAdams finally joins us. Hello, Kevin. We're doing single car qualifying for Windshield Deep tonight.
Fantastic.
And we have a producer. Zach is here.
That's also fantastic.
Excellent. Here comes Chris Davis in his brand new paint scheme. Let's see what he can do. Runs a little higher than he should in 3 and 4. Off turn number 4, keeps it off the wall across the line with a 19.914. So that'll place Chris Davis 3rd overall. Next up, we got the one of Jacob Hayes. Jacob Hayes has had an up and down year, as we've been saying as well. So he's been at the front and kind of found himself in trouble every now and then, but he's looking to finish the year strong tonight in that number 1 car that's very familiar. Number 1 car as he makes his way across the start finish line to start his lap.
Very dark here at North Wilkesboro. Very cloudy.
Very shady, yes.
I'm just getting in the server. Just stand by.
Thank you, Kevin. Take your time. You're already late, so just can't get worse than this.
On time would be 9 p.m.
Cross the line, a 19.212 for Jacob Hayes. So that'll put him 2nd overall. And out comes Brian Smith in the number 68 Monte Carlo. Brian's made 10 starts on the year. Doesn't have any top 5s or top 10s to his credit. He does have 1 lap led on the season, which will get you some bonus points, but not the year Brian has been looking for. He's looking to make a strong qualifying run, and he slides a little bit, a little power slide through 1 and 2. So let's see if he can recover from that slide. Through turns 3 and 4, line looks a little bit better. And he grazes the wall to put the cherry on top of that lap. So a nullified time for Brian. 2nd car we've seen hit the wall as Jack Bailey hit it first. So now we have the 13 of Josh Kosick. He's in the 41 car for whatever reason, but he's registered as the 13. A lot of calamity with the card numbers in this. I don't believe Josh has a start this year. I'm gonna double check that as Josh is sliding everywhere.
I believe he was race control for a little bit of last season and the season before.
He was. I mean, he's one of the race control guys. I'm not seeing him in the standings on Dan Lisa. Off the corner for Josh, across the line, it's a 19.656. So that'll put him 3rd overall out of 7 cars that have gone out. And it looks like Eric Wilson makes his way to the end of pit road as Josh makes his way back in. And Eric Wilson has the title sponsor of this race. Blondie's on the car for tonight. Eric currently sitting in a tie for 8th in the point standings right now with Ricky Harden has 12 starts on the year. Unfortunately, no wins, but he has 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s to his credit. As he heads into turns 3 and 4, ran a 19.112 in practice, looking to improve upon that. Off the corner, a little wiggle. Across the line with a 18.960, so pole for Eric Wilson. Great lap. But will that be enough? There's only a handful of times in the 18s in practice. Fastest with an 18.795 by Grayson Ward in practice. So we'll see how that lap holds up for Eric. But on track now, Drew Cox in the number 63 Monte Carlo. Drew's had an up and down year as well. Currently sitting 4th in the points. Not really within reach to contend for the championship. Unfortunately, he is 74 points behind Trupiano and Huffman. Stats on the year for Cox: 12 starts, has 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s, no wins, unfortunately. Crosses the line 19.231, so he loses time from his practice time with a 4th overall place performance. So Drew's going to have a little bit of work to do, and here comes Landon Huffman, 2nd in the points. Can he get it done tonight here at North Wilkesboro? Looking for his first championship. He's finished 2nd to Andy Trupiano 2 seasons in a row, so he's looking to bounce back and finally get over the hump into turn number 1. Stats on the year for Landon are very good. 12 starts as he slides through 1 and 2, but 12 starts, 3 wins on the year, 8 top 5s, 10 top 10s for Landon. Ran a 19.035 in practice, and by that slide, it looks like we're going to be a little slower. Off of turn number 4, we got a 19.108, so that's good enough for 3rd on the charts for Landon, but definitely not where he wanted to be at all. Coming onto the track now, one of our favorite paint schemes, as we've mentioned. Brett Poncari in the 35 Castrol Chevy Monte Carlo. Solid year for Brett, sitting 12th in the points right now. He's got 11 starts on the year, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s for Brett. Unfortunately, not in the running for the championship as he's sliding a little bit to 1 and 2. Ran a 19.028 in practice. So we'll see if he can improve on that. Down into turns 3 and 4, a little higher on the racetrack than I think he would like.
He is sawing on the wheel right now.
Really is. So it's off of turn 4, a 19.145. So that'll plant him 4th in the line. A little bit odd because the track has been cooling down as we've had more shade come through here. It's a little bit odd that we see the level of grip seem to go away.
Seems like the cloud cover may be making these guys trending a little bit loose. You guys can definitely see into the corner. These guys are sawing at the wheel left and right, but we'll have to see how that transpires. Seth Harrelson next up, another fan of the broadcast, another fan of ours, and we're a fan of his. And that gold 07, get a nice shot of his hands. You can see he's all over the track. We'll see if he can match his qualifying time with his practice time. That will put him on the pole, so we'll have to see what he does here on turn 4.
Seth 14th in points right now. Across the line, it's a good looking lap at 19.163, so that'll put him 5th overall.
Definitely slower than practice for a lot of these guys. I think the only guy I see that has bested their practice time or the front row, Ricky Harden up over 3/10, and then Eric Wilson up about 1.5. So, and it looks like the sun's back out.
That's bad timing for Spencer Dickinson as he makes his way onto the racetrack. He's currently sitting in 7th in points, 12 starts, 1 win, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. To Spencer's credit, I should say, as he makes his way through 1 and 2. A little higher entry, but he's going to duck it down. That's the line you want to use here at North Wilkesboro. As he heads to turns 3 and 4. Good looking line so far. As he makes his way, good smooth lap off turn 4, not too high, gets a good run off, an 0.32 for Spencer Dickinson, so put him 2nd on the board to Eric Wilson.
Next up, looks like it's going to be the number 13 machine of Josh Cottle. Had a fantastic race last week. Couldn't get it done due to strategy, just was not on the right call. We'll see if he can match that performance from last week and translate into this week. I believe he's pretty up there in points there, Sean. 6th in points overall, 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s, almost had a win like I mentioned before. He is currently battling Casey Pierce for the 5th place position, and it looks like he will most likely win it because Casey is here. Mm-hmm. So we'll have a nice battle for 5th, so we'll be able to keep an eye on that. There's about 5 points separating those two as he's working on his lap.
The Storm Bowling Products Total Advantage Motorsport Monte Carlo off of turn 4 for Cottle. Across the line, we got a 19.264. So it's looking like the high 18s are going to be the target for these guys to get that front row spot. And right now, Eric Wilson, the only one in the 18-second bracket, as here comes Dylan Wilson sitting 3rd in points right now. As we mentioned, I think he's just outside the range of being in contention for the championship. He's currently 51 points outside of Andy Trupiano for the top spot, and if he were to win the championship, a lot of things have to go his way. And with and there's Dylan getting loose. They're 1 and 2, and he's going to put it into the grass. So our first self spin of the night from Dylan Wilson. So Papa Eric's got to be kind of giving him the business here after that, as Dad's sitting on the pole and son Dylan just took a trip through the grass and 1 and 2.
Experience finally paying off here in this series in terms of real racing experience. Tough break for Dylan, and I believe just with how many starters we have here tonight, Sean, Dylan is well out of contention. I believe you would have needed a full field and then some to benefit from being in contention. So he will most likely finish third in points. I think the only person that's within striking distance is Drew Cox, and that's about 23-point deficit. So I think third and fourth are pretty much all she wrote. The next battle will be fifth between Casey and Josh. But we still have a very important title contention battle between Andy Trupiano, who is now on track right now doing his warm-up lap, and Lennon Huffman, who is currently fourth on the grid.
Andy leading the points by 1 point, and for good reason. 12 starts, 4 wins, 9 top 5s, 10 top 10s in 12 starts for Andy. Been absolutely dominant this whole season. He's looking to make it 3 championships in a row, something that has not been done in the very early stages of this league. Pretty decent lap in practice, an 18.813 across the line, an 18.954. So Andy putting himself in great position to take home title number 3 as he puts it on the pole.
Yeah, normally Andy's the one. I think these guys, I don't know if they're still going to do it because of championship week, but he will most likely have to go to the back as well as Landon Huffman. We'll have to see how that works out with the top 3 going to the back. But great lap for Andy. Grayson Ward last week, dominant, led pretty much every lap, and then had connection issues right before the last restart. So he's looking to rebound from that. He's had a great year despite only being here for 10 starts. So 10th in points, 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s, no wins for that number 9 machine. So he's looking to change that tonight, coming through 3 and 4, a little bit high in the middle of 3 and 4 there. We'll see what he comes across the line, and it looks like
991.
991. So that puts him in third there, Sean.
As we mentioned last week at Richmond, Grayson Ward dominant, led 119 laps of the 125 that were making up the distance, but as you mentioned, has had those unfortunate network connection issues, and that spelled the end to his day. Very unfortunate. Should have won that race, and might have affected him a lot more in the points and put him a little higher than where he is. But nonetheless, a solid lap for the 9 machine. And here comes Casey Pierce. Do you see the picture that Casey put on his Facebook? He ran a late model race the other day, and he got the whole, I think it was the right side of his car torn off, and he still finished third in there. So,
oh wow,
good little rebound for Casey. So we'll see what he can do. Stats for Casey Pierce, sitting currently 5th in the points, as Kevin mentioned. Only 10 starts for Casey, 1 win, 8 top 5s, 8 top 10s for Casey. So he ran a didn't really put a practice time up. It was a 4-minute 35-second lap in practice. But here comes Casey off of turn number 4, 18.983. That'll put him third.
Great short track racer is Casey. So looks like that's going to be it for the rest of qualifying. Looks like Matt Campbell did not take a time. Dexter Knipe Jr. did not take a time. And race control is confirming Trupiano, Brett Pancari, who finished second last week, and Landon Huffman will go to the back for tonight's event. So once again, we've seen it a lot this year, Sean. Trupiano and Landon will have to make their way through the field for essentially the 12th time this year, and they're going to be battling for a championship. And it looks like every category for Trupiano, he will take the tie if they end up tying in points. So Trupiano has to only basically either be behind Landon by 1 spot, or he has to beat him. So Landon's going to have to beat him by 2 spots tonight to win the championship.
I'm looking through the standings here, and the last time Andy Trupiano and Landon Huffman did not each finish in the top 3 in the same race, you got to go back to Talladega back on March 1st. So Casey Pierce, of course, he won that race in a thrilling race, but Landon finished 12th, and I believe, if I look down, Trupiano finished 13th. So they've been right next to each other all season, no matter where they're running. So if that's any indication of how this race is going to go, it is going to be down to the wire for this. And for Andy, could mean getting his 3rd consecutive championship. So history to be made here tonight, so we'll go ahead and take a little bit of a breather here before the race starts. Let's go ahead and you want to talk to Landon? We could talk to Landon before the race starts.
If you like,
get a word with him.
Sure, let's do it.
Landon, are we interrupting anything?
No.
So I just wanted to get a quick word before the race. We got a little downtime here. So you have finished, I believe, second to Andy in both seasons so far. What is it going to take for you to finally get over the hump and capture your first title here tonight?
I'm a lot closer this time around than I have been, so I'm pretty confident. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. It's pretty loose, but I've been good on the long run all season, especially since I got my new wheels. So we'll see. It should be a fun race. I love Wilkesboro. I'm usually really good here. It's one of my better tracks. So we don't have as many cars as we typically do on the track, so I think we'll get some green flag racing. And obviously we have to come from the rear, so it should be interesting. So we'll just see how it goes down here. And thank you to everybody that's watching on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube. We've got some cool things working during the off season between season 3 of this series and our next Windshield Deep series. Another Windshield Deep Money Super Late Model event on iRacing, as well as a special, another special little 6-week series that we're going to do in between seasons. So we'll announce that at some point in time. But other than that, enjoy the show, I guess.
Absolutely, man. Well, good luck to you. Go get it done tonight and park that 75 in Victory Lane and hoist that trophy, man.
All right, y'all boys have fun.
Chris Davis is doing this whole this whole pre-race ceremony thing over race chat.
Sounds like it's from the Nashville race that they had a few years ago where that guy went berserk. I think that's what that's from.
We got a little bit of time left. Let's go ahead. We can pull Andy in here. So let's see if his mic is working. Andy, do you read us?
It's all right. He's got 200 laps to figure it out.
Andy, do we have a mic? I see you're keying up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. All right. So we just talked to Landon, and it's a 1-point deficit between you guys. I'm sure you knew that. So what is it going to take for you to hold everybody off and take home title number 3 here?
Hopefully, I hope it comes down to long run speed. I mean, this track's a lot of fun when you're saving the right rear tire, and that kind of plays right into my wheelhouse. So hopefully that's what it comes down to. I think I can, hold my own there, and yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, man, we're just going over the numbers here. You've been the epitome of consistency in this series so far. We just went over 12 starts, 4 wins, 9 top 5s, 10 top 10s. So you're there every week. Haven't finished outside the top 3 since Talladega. And honestly, Talladega is a roll of the dice anyway, so that's understandable. But still, you have been by far one of the more dominant drivers along with Landon. So if it comes down to it at the end of this thing, if he's leading, are you putting the bumper to him to get it done?
Yeah, you know it.
Oh man, so we're excited to see it, man. So we'll let you go. I know you're going over the pre-race stuff. Don't want to interrupt too much of that, but good luck to you, man. Go ahead and bring it home.
All right, appreciate it.
Sandy Trupiano rolling off in the back tonight. So Kevin, I'm actually kind of excited about this. So there's a bit of a story going through in this event tonight. So obviously Landon has come up short 2 consecutive seasons. He puts himself in prime position to take his first title tonight. So I'm excited to see how this plays out, but we got to see how these guys will get through the field. As we mentioned, they've come through the back pretty much every single race, and nothing different here tonight for each of them.
Yeah, and I mean, these two have been the top 2 talents from the start of season 1. Andy has 2 championships. Landon has the most wins with 8 overall. I mean, Andy's also got 7. So these guys have both been at the front every race, every season. So it comes down to, can Andy just once again just have a clean race? And it was interesting. Both those guys mentioned long runs. Both think they're going to be very strong on the long run. They didn't have a lot of confidence as far as maybe their short run speed. Despite that, Andy Trupiano is P1 on the pole. So it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to come out on top. And I think I called it last year, and Andy's so consistent, and I think it's the easy call, but sometimes you got to go with the house and pick the obvious choice. I think Andy's going to be the one that gets it done tonight. I think he's just so consistent, and he's so safe with his car. He's going to be able to pull it off tonight for the 3rd time now.
Well, we'll see what happens here for sure. But nonetheless, expect an exciting race. Storylines abound here tonight at North Wilkesboro. And I can't wait to get the green flag here going. We should be going very shortly. So if we want, I guess we can maybe take a quick little break here before we get rolling here at North Wilkesboro. All set for 200 laps here tonight. It's going to be very exciting. Who's going to take home the third season of the Windshield Deep Racing League Championship? We'll find out here shortly. Don't go away. We'll be right back here to North Wilkesboro.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back live here at North Wilkesboro for the season 3 finale of the Windshield Deep Racing League. We got the Blondies 200 coming at you live. The field is gritting as of right now. So it's going to be shaken up a little bit here. If you guys are just joining us, we just had single car qualifying go off, and Andy Trupiano was the fastest car, but he will be going to the back after scoring a podium finish last week. So that means Eric Wilson will be the control car on the start of this race. Row number 2 is going to see Casey Pierce rolling off. He'll be rolling off from, I guess, the pseudo pole position, if you will. He'll be the first car on the inside. Alongside him, Grayson Ward. Rolling back into row number 3 here, we have Spencer Dickinson in the 16, Ricky Harden in that number 15, rolling off in 6th. Another car going to the back in row number 4, Landon Huffman in that 75. He'll be going to the back as well. Brett Pancari starting alongside him in row 4 in that 35. Row number 5 sees the 07 of Seth Harrelson and the 1 of Jacob Hayes. And Kevin, those two guys are right smack in the middle of the hornet's nest to start this thing.
Yeah, as well as Drew Cox here in 11th. Josh Cottle looking to have a good race as well. He will roll off in 12th. Josh Kosick making his first start of the season. He rolls off 13th. Davey Davis in 14th on the outside of row 7, and his brother, Chris Davis, will roll off 15th. Jack Bailey in 16th, and the last qualifier is Brian Smith in the 17th position. Rolling off as well is the number 49 machine of Matt Campbell. He will roll off 18th, and caboosing this field before they re-rack it is going to be Dylan Wilson and Dexter Knipe Jr. So it looks like 20 cars tonight. A little bit bigger field than we had last week. but we should still have some green flag racing for the rest of the night.
I think this field is a good size for this league. You know, when you see the bigger car counts, it kind of amounts to chaos at times. But you know, it's a good size for this league, good size for this track. And again, for those of you just joining us here, first of all, welcome. Glad you're here, whether you're watching on Facebook or Twitch. Thank you all for joining us here for the season finale. 2 drivers set to run for the championship tonight. Andy Trupiano and Landon Huffman had to make their way from the back to the front, but essentially, Kevin, it's whoever finishes ahead of the other will take home the trophy tonight. So here we go. Casey Pierce is going to be on the inside of the front row alongside Eric Wilson. As the pace truck ducks off, we're ready to get going. Green flag is out. The Blondies 200 is underway here in North Wilkesboro. Casey Pierce gets a good start to the race here into turn number 1. Spencer Dickinson falls in line to second, and Eric Wilson stuck on that outside. He's going to drop all the way to 4th off of turn 2.
Lost a lot of momentum in that number 4 machine entering turn 1. He's still holding this high line up. Seth Harrelson, the beneficiary of that. He's going to go to 3rd. Drew Cox looking to go underneath the number 4 machine as well of Eric Wilson. So quickly, this front pack has jostled and shuffled quite a bit. Eric Wilson from 2nd. He's now fighting for 4th.
Down the back straightaway, still side by side, is Eric Wilson. He's got Drew Cox to his inside, and still looking to fall in line. This is the battle for 5th. Now, it should be noted here that these guys have 2 extra sets of tires for these cars tonight. 200-lap race, and need a little bit extra tires. As there you see Drew Cox getting a little sideways going into turns 1 and 2. He's able to keep it going. But tire conservation, as always, is the main event tonight, as we have a trouble on the backstretch into turn 3.
Oh!
Davis goes around. And that'll bring out our first caution of the night. Davey Davis involved as well. So the Davis brothers in trouble early, as we work caution number 1 here at North Wilkesboro.
Chris Davis was making his way through the pack very quickly. He was already battling for 8th position, and going into turn 3, just looking at the replay now, I believe he just turned down in front of Jacob Hayes. We'll get a shot of it here. And
Hayes in the 1 right there. There it
looks
is.
like it. He just turns himself off the nose.
Now watch Davey.
And then Davey just unfortunately just didn't check up in time. So the Doobie brothers both have sustained quite a bit of damage early on. But we've seen these cars so far this season, Sean. They are very resilient, and these guys are definitely not out of it. But you know who is out of it? Dexter Knipe Jr. is already retired.
Yeah, Dexter Knipe has just pulled off the racetrack. So for you Dexter Knipe fans, that is the update on him.
That was such a bad plow. Oh my God.
That was interesting. So caution number 1 here early, working lap number 5 currently here at North Wilkesboro. Casey Pierce is your leader. Spencer Dickinson 2nd. Seth Harrelson, a good run for him, currently sitting in 3rd. Grayson Ward 4th, and Drew Cox will be rounding out the top 5 here. 200 laps make up the distance here at North Wilkesboro. Again, for those of you just joining us, got a great race on our hands tonight. A champion will be crowned for the third season of the Windshield Deep Racing League. And the storyline here, Kevin, for those of you not up to speed, Andy Trupiano in the 7 machine, a little bit further back in the field here. There's the points on your screen here. Andy has 2 consecutive championships, and Landon Huffman, I believe, has finished 2nd to him in every season so far. So Landon, we talked to him before the race. He's definitely not settling for 2nd. He wants to get this championship and finally get over that hump.
Yeah, he's been the bridesmaid. Ironic because he just got married. He's been the bridesmaid pretty much every year. He finished 3rd season 1, 5 points behind Ricky Harden, who did finish 2nd. So he finished 3rd in season 1, finished 2nd season 2. So he's just looking to slowly but surely crawl his way up the board for season 3, looking to get his first championship. But the one thing that he does have stacked against him are the tiebreakers. He is 1 point out. And you know, we might have a potential tiebreaker. He has to beat Andy by 2 positions tonight. If he finishes 2nd and Andy finishes 3rd, the tie would go to Andy in every category. Wins, it would go to top 5s, it would go to Andy. Top 10s would go to Andy. So he's got to keep that in his back pocket. If he wants to win this championship, he might not only have to win, he might have to ask for Andy to finish 3rd or further back.
Shame on Landon for getting married. You know, that's unbelievable. How could he? But totally kidding, of course. But we are on 1 to go now here. The field making their way through turns 1 and 2. Casey Pierce still your leader. Casey, no slouch to short tracks either, so he could play a factor into this. He definitely thinks he could win this race tonight. He's been very strong up at North Wilkesboro before in this series, so we're going to see how that 18 machine fares as we're getting ready to go back to green here. Pace truck ducks off on a pit lane. Spencer Dickinson, Casey Pierce lead them down. Green flag is out. Oh, and Dickinson looks like he missed a shift early on that restart as he's to the top lane, gets hit in the back by the 9 car of Grayson Ward. So that is not the start that Ward wanted. Ward has some front end damage as they make their way through 1 and 2, and they're side by side for 2nd right now as look at Seth Harrelson makes his way up to the back of Casey Pierce.
Nearly 3 wide as Dickinson once again goes wide out of turn 4. He's going to maintain that third position for now, right on the outside of Drew Cox. Seth Harrelson, meanwhile, he's looking to go for the lead. He's all over the back of Casey Pierce. Look at Seth Harrelson go, trying to get that run early on. He's all over the back of the 18 machine, but they're still battling for third. And Dickinson holding on strong in that third position. He's going to nearly gap and clear that 63 machine of Drew Cox. And now Grayson Moore looking to follow suit as well.
On board with Casey Pierce, has a mirror full of Seth Harrelson down the back straightaway into turn number 3. So the front part of the field's pretty much single file here for the first, I would say, maybe 10, 12 positions here. We got to go a little bit further back to our first battle. But Landon Huffman in that 75 car is trying to make some moves on the top lane a little bit further back here. Currently side by side off turn 2 at the 13 of Josh Caudle down the back straightaway. Landon again had to start from the back in this race after finishing on the podium last week. So he's trying to work his way up. And there you see it right there, Kevin. If he can maintain, you see Landon going into 1, but Andy Trupiano right there, barely on the right-hand side of your screen. That blue and black car back there, if he can maintain, as Kevin said, a 2-car minimum gap, 2-position gap to Andy Trupiano, Landon wins the championship. And that is too close of a margin to have if I'm either of these guys for this championship.
Yeah, right now it looks like he's got a 3-car gap. So right now he would have a 2-point lead over Andy Trupiano. He's looking to continue his momentum through the field, looking underneath that 15 machine of Ricky Harden. He's going to easily do that. But something we might have to look into later on in this run, Sean, something we've talked about ad nauseum throughout the Windshield Deep series, is tire management. These guys both said that they were really good on long runs, but as I'm looking, it looks like Landon Huffman is kind of using his stuff a little bit early. He's kind of throwing that right rear out. Thanks, Kirby. I appreciate it. But it looks like he might be wearing that right rear out a lot. And Andy said, right when we interviewed him, he's really good at taking care of that right rear tire. We might see some give here on that Andy Trupiano machine. He's kind of just biding his time, but right now he's stuck behind Jacob Hayes in 10th.
So it looks like 2 different strategies being employed by our 2-point leaders. Landon trying to get through the field now in a hurry. And you see, Andy, there's no real urgency for Andy Trupiano right now. He's looking to save his tires the best he can. And if this field is, it has the look of a long run type of feel right now. So we're going to see if that's the case. But if that's the case now, it definitely benefits Andy. But Landon not wasting any time trying to get through this field. He's knocking inside the top 5. He's got Spencer Dickinson just ahead of him and just ahead of them as well. Got a battle for second. Here comes Grayson Ward to the inside of Seth Harrelson.
Grayson Ward already got around the number 63 machine of Drew Cox. Now he's looking for Seth's position as well. Going to do that. And here comes Drew Cox battling for third. He's all over the back of Grayson Ward. He's trying to get through here pretty quickly. But Grayson Ward and Drew Cox both clear that 07 machine. Seth Harrelson from second to fourth in a matter of corners. He's fallen back. And look at Spencer Dickinson as well. He's looking to rebound. And then right behind them, there's that 75 machine of Landon Huffman.
So definitely a lot of implications here. The field looking very calm right now. So not your typical windshield deep field. Nobody's running each other over early on in the race for position. So everyone giving a lot of give and take here. That's why I said earlier, I think the field size is very good for this series. But up front, Seth Harrelson still starting to slip back a little bit in that 07. He's got the 6 of Spencer Dickinson all over the rear bumper. That's going to be the battle for, I believe, the 4th position on track. But Seth looking strong early on in the race. And another thing we've talked about ad nauseum pretty much is the luck of Seth Harrelson this season. He has had some of the worst luck we've seen in this league. So ending the season strong would be very beneficial for him as they make their way into next season.
Yeah, we were joking around a little bit about looking at the incident totals and calling that a pseudo championship. Unfortunately for Seth, he is 4th highest in incidents, and a lot of those are not of his doing. He has been very much the bystander in a lot of these accidents that have been ahead of him. He's just had nowhere to go. So he's looking to finally have a clean night. And right now he's doing just that. He's currently in 4th. He's got a little bit of a gap between him and Drew Cox in front of him. And then he's got a little bit of a gap between him and Spencer Dickinson. Right now he's just running his own race. And something that we also need to point out as well, Sean, is this is one of the longest races of the season. 200 laps here at North Wilkesboro. It's a little bit longer than we typically go at the short tracks. Normally we go about 125, 150. This is definitely the longest race on these short tracks this year. So I think these guys are being a little bit more patient knowing that. And I also think these guys are also thinking, well, I got to take care of these tires a little bit longer than I need to in other races. So I think everyone's going to be minding their P's and Q's right now. Everyone's pretty much spread out by about 2 or 3 car lengths right now. And as I say that, here comes Grayson Ward all over the back end of Casey Pierce. He's looking to battle for the lead.
Casey has had some pressure being applied by Grayson Ward for the last couple of laps now, but hasn't really gotten that much closer to where he is now. But I was watching a little bit further back. Andy Trupiano just made his way into the top 10, so we'll keep an eye on that as we look back from our leader, Casey Pierce. And there you see Grayson Ward just getting a little loose off the corner there. That damage on the front end of that 9 car doesn't seem to be affecting him all that much. As if we remember from the last restart, Grayson got into the back of, I believe it was Spencer Dickinson on the restart, who missed a gear, but not affecting him at all as he's all over the rear bumper of Casey Pierce as they make their way into 1 and 2.
Look at that lap times. These guys are about 1/10 of a second apart as Casey looking to concede that bottom line, maybe get a good run off the corner. He clears Grayson for just a moment, sails it into turn 3. Turn 3 is an interesting track. It's got this weird like little lip on the inside of the racetrack. If you can kind of hook that, you can make up a ton of ground. And it looks like both these guys are trying to search around in 1 and 2, but these guys are both all over the bottom in 3 and 4. So I think if Grayson wants to make a run at Casey here, he's gonna have to do it in 1 and 2, as these guys are painting that curb all the way through 3 and 4. And look at Drew Cox. Drew Cox also looking to get in the mix. He was about 2/10 faster than both these guys. They started to battle for the lead, and now that's allowed the 63 machine to arrive into the scene as well.
Our buddy Moonhead on Twitch has this famous saying, it's now a 3-horse pony show at the dog race, and that's what it is right now. Turn 3 is an interesting track as well, Kevin. You very, very great pointing that out. But down on the front straightaway, Drew Cox, he's hungry for his first windshield deep win. He's been close numerous times, but he's right there with these guys. And Grayson Ward, you're talking about different lines here as Casey was running a little bit higher as Drew Cox sends it into turn 3. He makes it stick, though. So Casey appears to be running maybe like a half a car width higher than Grayson Ward is. So that, I'm not sure if that's what Casey found in practice where it was faster, or if it saves tires more. But again, we've been talking about as Grayson has a little bit of a slide off of turn 2. Tire conservation is premier in this league. And typically in iRacing, the lower you run on the racetrack, the better you save your tires. So we'll see how this will work for Grayson in the long run. But right now, he still hasn't been able to get by Casey.
Yeah, and something that I've noticed with North Wilkesboro, turns 1 and 2 is it's got a weird shallow entry, so it's really sweeping. So if you can get a good run off the corner, it has a very sharp exit. Despite this track being oval shaped, it is not symmetrical by any state of the imagination. So these guys get a really sweeping entry in the corner, and the key to getting out of turn 2 is that nice straight exit. And it looks like the way Casey's run is out of the corner, he's gapping Grayson by about a car length a lap. But Grayson gets a lower entry into 1, and he makes that up on the other side. But here comes Grayson on that high line. He's trying to make that second lane work through 3 and 4, Sean, but he doesn't look like he's going to work for right now.
For you Chris Davis fans, he has just re-entered the race after fixing his damage. So just wanted to check in with Chris there, involved in that first caution we had with his brother. There he is, just back on the racetrack. Car looks good as new. But back up front here, they are still jockeying for position up there. So it looks like Ward will fall in line behind Pierce, but he's searching. So he's trying to find some more speed. And it's looking like he's thinking that middle groove might be the way to go, but he loses a little bit of time on exit of turn 2 there to Pierce, who runs that lower line. And that's pretty much allowed everyone at the front to close up, as they have Seth Harrelson behind them. They also have Dickinson and Landon Huffman making their way closer to this battle.
Yeah, looking at the intervals, things are definitely closing up. Landon Huffman now only 1.50 seconds behind the leader of Casey Pierce. So we got the top half dozen within a second and a half of each other, and that's allowed pretty much all these guys to be all over one another. Here comes Seth Harrelson to get on the back of number 63 of Drew Cox. Drew Cox trying to hound the number 9 machine of Grayson Ward, and of course Grayson's looking to take the lead away from Casey. So we're going to have a lot of battles here shaping up. But at the moment, everything's single file. Everyone kind of minding their own P's and Q's. Even the guys in the back right now are kind of chilling, minding their own business. So I think this definitely has a long run feel, as you mentioned earlier, even though we have a nice battle up front.
Got a bit of a somber update here. Davey Davis has parked the 305 bottom split machine. He is done for the evening. So both of the Davis brothers running into trouble early, and Davey deemed his damage too much to fix, and he has brought the 305 behind the wall and is done for the evening. But this is the prime battle on the track right now. The lead group right here, led by Casey Pierce. Casey's led from the jump, has led every lap so far, all 38 laps that have been completed. and they're starting to kind of separate a little. I'm looking a little bit further back as we have a little bit of a battle here for the 7th spot between Ricky Harden and Josh Caudle there. And look who's just behind them. Andy Trupiano slowly making his way through the top 10. He's currently running in 9th. And you got to think it's only a matter of time before he gets by these two.
Yeah, Ricky Harden slowly dropping back through the field. But here comes Andy Trupiano underneath Ricky. Ricky hits the wall outside of turn 2. That's going to give Andy the position. That's going to move him into the 8th position. Now he's looking at Josh Caudle looking for 7th. Dylan Wilson also following suit underneath Ricky Harden. So that shuffles Ricky back from 7th to 10th. And then number 15 Machine. He's looking to rally. He's looking to come back after some rough starts here in the Windshield Deep League. He's just looking to finish, I think, in a solid top 10 spot. So we'll have to keep an eye on Ricky throughout the rest of the race as he settles in 10th position. But right now, Andy is hounding the number 13 Machine out of turn 4 for 7th.
Got to give a call to Dylan as well. He, if you're just joining us, we had a single car qualifying, and he was unfortunately the recipient of a self spin in turns 1 and 2. So his lap time was nullified. So he had to start in 20th, dead last, and he's made his way into the top 10. So good job so far for Dylan. As we go back up front, they are still all over each other here for 1st and 2nd. Is looks like Grayson Ward gives Pierce a little bit of a bump in 1 and 2, and I think the patience is starting to wear thin in that number 9.
Yeah, a little bit of a hi, how are you from the number 9 Machine. I think Casey's holding this entire pack up, but the way this track is, it's just so hard to pass. If you can get the position on him, it's pretty easy to get around him, but that's the hard part, is you can get there, but it's hard to pass here at North Wilkesboro. Casey gets another great run out of turn 2. Grayson sends it into turn 1, not going to work as they go through 3 and 4 to start and complete lap 44. We have more dogs barking and yelling at each other.
Landon Huffman just gets by Spencer Dickinson, so move Landon into the top 5 here as he tries to get up front to continue his run for the championship. Again, it's really only between 2 drivers here tonight, that Landon Huffman Machine, that number 75 car, and Andy Trupiano back a little bit further in the 7 are your 2 guys that have a realistic shot at winning the championship, as Trupiano a little bit further back, trying to duck to the inside of Josh Caudle in that number 13. Andy's kind of looking for some grip as well. He's been running pretty much the bottom. Andy known for saving his tires better than pretty much anybody in this league. But he's looking to make some headway on the top there, maybe trying to find a spot to pass, as he is just all over the back of Josh Caudle off of turn number 4. But if we look back up front here, they are still nose to tail for the first 3 spots, but Casey's still holding strong there in that 18.
Yeah, Andy Trupiano was the fastest car last time by, so I'll have to keep an eye on him. But right now, the battle for the lead is still active. These guys are all under a blanket. It's pretty crazy that Grayson's been hounding this 18 car for, I would say, about 15 laps. But Casey's holding strong. He's running the right line to play defense. Oh, and Grayson gets really loose out of turn 2. And I think Grayson's going to start getting frustrated here. He's been able to get right to the back of that 18 car, but the one thing he hasn't had is drive off, especially out of turn 2. And I think he's starting to use that right rear, as we mentioned before. You got to take care of that right rear here at North Wilkesboro. And I believe Casey's doing this right, getting that nice straight exit off of turn 2. And I think it's going to start benefiting him here as Grayson loses about a car length out of turn 2.
Grayson's got to back off for a little bit to cool his tires off. But look who's creeping up to this group. That white and blue car behind them, Landon Huffman, has caught this group here. So he's looking to the outside of Seth Harrelson there. And you got to think, I mean, with his new Thrustmaster wheel, he's going to be saving his tires the best out of pretty much everybody at the front. And right now, if I'm Landon, I'm looking to get to the front quickly and as fast as I possibly can to stay as far away as I can from Andy Trupiano. So again, if you guys are just joining us, Landon Huffman needs to finish roughly 2 spots ahead of Andy Trupiano as we got a battle for the lead here. As look at this, the 9 of Grayson Ward finally gets under Casey Pierce, but just doesn't have the grip on the rear tires of that car to get that good run off the corner, as Casey's got the preferred defensive line off of turn 4.
These guys are tandems drifting through the exit of the corner. These guys were sideways next to each other out of turn 2, and then Casey got really loose again in turn 4. Casey is driving the race of his life right now in front of Grayson Ward, still holding this position. But as you mentioned, Sean, Landon Huffman now in 5th. And one thing we're getting close to is that 1/3 mark, like you mentioned earlier in the race. 2 sets of tires in the pits, and we've seen time and time again that 75 Machine just knows what to do on pit strategy. But right now, he's driving through the field, and he's all the way in the top 5. And right now, Andy Trupiano finally getting around that Josh Caudle Machine. He just passed him for 7th. So now 2 points separate, or 2 positions separate these guys, and at the moment Landon still has that 1-point lead over Trupiano.
Into turns 2. Look at this. Turn 2, I should say. Here comes Grayson Ward trying to get the run off the corner on Casey Pierce, but Casey doing the right thing by keeping that car on the top lane, but he maybe got in the throttle a little too early, as here comes Ward, has a nose ahead of him, but Pierce is going to lead that lap. But Grayson Ward still being persistent, trying to make that bottom work and have Pierce overheat his tires. But Landon Huffman just behind these guys, just past Seth Harrelson for fourth rather. And Landon not done yet. He's trying to get up to the front of these guys as they're still side by side for the lead.
Side by side, and Grayson Ward and Casey make contact. Grayson saves it. They throw a caution, even though he saved it. So caution will come out for the sideways maneuver of Grayson Ward. What a save from the 9 machine. I don't know why they threw the caution there, but that will change the structure of the race. We'll get a replay here. It looks like just racing. I mean, these guys were side by side for about 3 or 4 laps, and it looks like maybe a little bit of net code there possibly between those two as the 9 bounces off the 18 car. That should not have been a caution. That's insane.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, this league has its interesting calls, but we should have pit stops here. So with this one, we'll go ahead and go side by side here for this, as you'll see the pit stops on your screen right now. Is a couple interesting calls here for these guys. So keep your eyes peeled to the screen here. We're going to go take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for the restart here, live for the Blondies 200. Don't go away. Back live here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway here for the season finale of Season 3 of the Windshield Deep Racing League, the Blondies 200, live here at Windshield Deep. Thank you very much for joining us, whether you're watching on the Twitch or the Facebook. Appreciate you hanging out with us on this Monday evening. So just had our second caution of the night, and interesting, we had our first round of pit stops here, and everybody pits except for 2 drivers on the track. Drew Cox, your current leader, and that's 63, and the guy behind him, Seth Harrelson, in the 07, decided not to pit while everybody else does. So interesting call by those guys. We'll see how that strategy will play out. Again, 2 extra sets of tires in the pits for these guys. They got to make them last 200 laps. And Kevin, what are you thinking about that strategy?
I guess we'll find out here and see how much the fall off really is. These tires for these 87 cars seem to equalize on restarts. So I think these guys will be able to hold their own for maybe about a lap or 2. But we've seen time and time again, especially the number 63 machine, he goes through tires pretty quickly. And we've already got about 60 laps on these tires as is. So we'll have to keep an eye on that 63 machine to see if he may be close to wearing out that right front and right rear. We've seen many times once you hit that cliff, you lose about a second and a half. So I think they'll be able to hold their own for a temporary amount of time, maybe 2 or 3 laps at the most. But I see these guys potentially going a lap down because of this strategy call.
We'll see if this race is keeping up with its usual trends. We're going to see a lot of green flag racing, so that would not benefit these 2, but we'll see. So here we go, going back to green here, coming to lap 62. Drew Cox, Seth Harrelson. Harrelson does not get a good restart on the top. Drew Cox with a great jump, and he's able to clear everybody. Casey Pierce is through to second. That is not what Cox wants to see, and Pierce not wasting any time looking to the inside of our leader, Drew Cox. But Cox is able to hold him off down the back into turn 3 as Harrelson continues to slip down the order.
Landon Huffman was a victim of that bottleneck. He gets underneath Seth Harrelson. Andy Trubiano gets underneath Harrelson. But right now, battle for the lead. Here comes Casey Pierce on those fresh Ford new tires. Here comes Grayson Ward as well. Grayson has a run to get underneath Casey. He might finally get underneath this 18 machine. He's been working at it for about 25 laps, but behind them, here comes the championship contenders. Landon Huffman third. Now Andy Trubiano in fourth as Drew Cox has fallen back quickly.
Drew Cox on those old tires, not really liking his decision right now as Landon gets a little loose behind these guys. So Casey's able to fend off Grayson Ward for it seems like the billionth time in this race. So Ward is going to still have to get used to seeing the rear of that number 18 car. But here comes Landon Huffman again. So right in third is Landon, but right behind him, championship leader Andy Trubiano setting sail for the front. And Landon gets through the wall down the back straightaway. So that is not a good sign if you're Landon early on in this run. And Trubiano looking to capitalize on that, trying to get to the rear bumper of Landon Huffman. He's going to fall back in line, but damage doesn't look too bad on Landon's car, so he's able to keep going, but shouldn't matter too much. These cars, as we mentioned, very durable, and damaging no matter what you're in on a short track doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Absolute tanks in these 87 cars. I think he'll be all right. But right now, as it stands, Landon Huffman third, Andy Trubiano fourth. That's only a one-car gap in the sense of position. That gives these guys a tie in the standings. And as I mentioned earlier, tie goes to Trubiano. So right now, Huffman's going to have to keep moving forward. He's going to have to look at that number 9 machine and get around him to have a shot at the championship if things stay as they are for the title. So he's going to have to stay aggressive, and I think that's why he hit the wall. I think he knows, especially with these guys so close right now on this restart, he's going to have to use these tires and get around that number 9 machine. He's been fast all night, as well as that number 75 machine, so he's going to have to make his way around that 9 car of Grayson Ward. And he might have to start worrying about Casey as well. He's been very fast, and I think Casey, he's played really good defense all night long, and he's been hard to pass every lap.
Casey doing a great job of being that defensive driver, but still getting a quick update on the guys that stayed out. I'm still watching Drew Cox and Seth Harrelson, and they are plummeting through the field. There you see.
Oh, trouble in the back. Chris Davis is around.
And that'll be it for Chris Davis. That is the second incident for him in this race. So we'll get a replay here, see what happened to Chris. That was, wow, this is very odd looking. So watch that black number 2 car just tries to give JK's a bump and just gets turned from it. I haven't seen that since NR, so that's really odd. But nonetheless, that'll bring out another caution here at North Wilkesboro, and that might be exactly what Seth Harrelson and Drew Cox wanted to see.
Some jawing in the radio between race control RJ Williams and I believe it was Jacob Hayes he was telling that to kind of calm down a little bit. A bunch of takers into the pits. I believe Drew Cox and Seth Harrelson learned their lesson. They're going to be pitting from 9th and 10th respectively. They're going to come in for their first set of tires. A couple other guys coming in. I believe these guys are going to be coming for fuel only. Ricky Harden takes a set of tires. So does Spencer Dickinson. I hope these guys didn't take tires last time. That would be very costly for these guys. We'll have to see how many sets they have left after that. Looks like 2 tires for the Spencer Dickinson machine. Ricky takes all 4. Drew Cox is away. Seth Harrelson's away. So once again, Sean, I think these guys learned their lesson, but it's kind of put the cream rising to the top between these top 4. Casey Pierce, Grayson Ward, Landon Huffman, Andy Trubiano, all have been in contention to win every single week they've been here. And I don't think anything's going to be different as Jacob Hayes is wrecking off the pits.
Jacob Hayes has just had an adventurous last couple of laps here, so he's able to keep it going. But that is one of the more bizarre crashes I can remember seeing in this. As we take a look, looks like he just over revved the tires a little bit in first gear and looped it around. No harm, no foul. He's able to go in the grass too, so I think his tires would be okay too. So nonetheless, we're working caution at number 3 here tonight at North Wilkesboro. Casey Pierce has been the dominant car all race long, has led just about every lap so far tonight. Grayson Ward has been right in his tire tracks though for this entire race. But the story of the race right behind them, Landon Huffman and Andy Trubiano, the 2 guys in contention for season 3's championship. Andy Trubiano, 2-time defending champion. Landon trying to dethrone him for the first time this year, so we'll see if they can do it. Landon needs to get a couple more spots to get it done, but right now, as you mentioned, if they were to finish where they are right now, there is a tie between them. If Landon finishes 1 spot ahead of Andy, and Andy holds the tiebreaker in this, so Landon really needs to find a way to get more space in between he and Trupiano. But if he's leading and Trupiano's second, there's not much he can do about it.
Really can. He pretty much has to leave it up to fate and let the race basically go as it will. But at the moment, he's on that inside row, and it seems like the inside lane, especially with the leader having control of the field, he might have a good advantage to get underneath that number 9 machine of Grayson Ward. This might be his one and best opportunity to get underneath Grayson Ward here, as the pace truck's about to pull off, working lap 75 next time by. It'll be 126 laps to go. Pace truck is off. Restart quick for that number 18 machine. Grayson Ward looks like he might have enough room to get to the bottom. He's not going to want it, though. I think he's going to want to get around Casey on the outside line, and he does just that. He's going to have that line that he's been trying to get on Casey. He's going to be on the outside here, and he might have the advantage into turn 3.
Grayson Ward gets a great restart, so he might be able to take the lead away from Casey Pierce, and he does. So Casey Pierce finally is overtaken by Grayson Ward. He's been working all race, and he finally got it done. Now Casey's still under fire from Landon Huffman. Landon gets a little loose. He's not quite clear as he heads into 3. Huffman's still with the nose to the quarter of that number 18, but watch just behind him. Andy Trupiano is right there, ready to see if he can capitalize. He's probably still trying to save his tires. Andy always thinks the long term, but you gotta think, Andy, if he can get in front of Landon and maybe see him struggle for a little bit, that could mean the difference here if we have a long run.
A little bit of potential desperation from Landon last lap. Got as close as he probably could get to that Casey Pierce machine into turn 3. Nearly turned himself and Casey. Decided to kind of lean back a little bit. Right now he's got under the clutches of Andy Trupiano. Trupiano just laying in the weeds behind that 75 machine, and that's allowed the top 2 to pull away just a little bit. We mentioned, or we showed a little bit earlier, Seth Harrelson involved in an incident. He has now fallen way back in the pack. He is now 16th overall, 8 seconds behind the field. But we're going to stay focused here on the top 5. Potential next battle. Here comes Dylan Wilson all over the back of Andy Trupiano.
Andy Trupiano still saving those tires, but how about Matt Campbell in that green 49 just behind them? Haven't mentioned his name all that much tonight. He started back in 18th, and he's currently being shown in 6th, so he's had a similar race to Dylan Wilson, and they find themselves in similar positions. So give a call to that 49. I believe he had a win last season. Hasn't made too many starts this season, but good to see him out for the finale tonight, as we see Dylan Wilson in that red and black number 77 trying to gain an advantage. But just behind them, we got a battle here between Josh Caudle and Eric Wilson. This is for 8th.
Yeah, battle for 8th position between Caudle and Wilson. Both these guys started up front last week and this week, so they've improved their short track prowess as they're battling right now for a top 10 position. Behind them, Spencer Dickinson and Drew Cox also on newer tires, so we might see some jostling for position here as Caudle checks up that inside line and nearly gets wrecked by Spencer Dickinson. Dickinson already has a little bit of damage on his rear end, almost sustained a little bit there on his front as Caudle checked up that inside line. Here comes Eric Wilson looking to battle back, and that'll be a battle for 9th at the moment, but Drew Cox lays in the weeds looking for more.
Interesting to see where the new tires of Drew Cox goes in this battle. This is the closest on-track battle we have. Everyone pretty much single file ahead of these guys. So this is the pretty much only action on the racetrack right now, as Drew Cox elects to go to the bottom lane to try to get by Eric Wilson. Eric pinching him down just a little bit. And Eric had a very impressive qualifying run. Started outside the front row tonight. So he's looking to build on that strong qualifying run, but he's looking to be overtaken by the fresher tires of Drew Cox. So move Drew for now into the 10th position, but he's looking for more underneath the 6 of Spencer Dickinson. Just can't quite get it done off of 2.
Pankari now underneath the clutches of that number 13 machine at Josh Caudle. Wanted to give a quick shout out to Brett Pankari. He had to start in the back with Andy and Landon Huffman for tonight's event after finishing his career best 2nd place finish at Richmond. Had a great run last week due to strategy, and it paid off for him. He's now in 7th, but here comes Josh Caudle looking to get that great run off of turn 2, and looks like he will do it. Josh Caudle to 7th as Drew Cox hits that curb, looking to continue that inside charge, and he's going to do it underneath Brett. Move Brett from 7th to 9th in 1 lap.
Interesting here. Seth Harrelson is the other guy that's on fresh tires, but something must have happened to him because he wrecked. He's lost touch with everybody. So I guess not what you want to see from Seth. But back up to this battle here as we take a look 3 wide here. Pankari goes to the very top of the racetrack. Cox is going to be able to get by all these guys, but right now the battle's between Ricky Harden and Spencer Dickinson. This is going to be for 9th.
Big loser those last 2 laps was Pankari. He went from 7th to 12th in 2 laps, so fall him all the way back to the end of the top 12 there. But Ricky Harden looking to rally away his back through the field. He's going to go from 10th to 9th, gets around Spencer Dickinson. Things finally starting to settle out just a little bit here in the front of the pack. But like you said, Sean, a lot of these guys came from the back of the field. Matt Campbell started in the back, Dylan Wilson started in the back, and then of course you have Landon and Andy who had to start in the rear end of the field as well. So a lot of these guys have had to pass a ton of cars to get to the front. And then obviously you've had Grayson and Casey who have kind of been up front all night. So things starting to finally settle out where people probably should be. But here comes Drew Cox. He's looking to get those new tires through the field. He's now battling Cottle for 7th.
Cox doing a great job to get through the field here. So looking through the windshield of Drew Cox, well, just a little bit there. As off at turn number 4, that Gold Storm Bowling Products number 13 of Josh Caudle has a rear window full of that 63 of Drew Cox. But look at Ricky Harden back there. He's starting to gain some more ground on Drew. You got to think, if you're Drew Cox, you got slightly fresher tires here. Do you use them up now to get to the front, or do you save them just to have that much fresher tire at the later part of the run?
Well, I mean, knowing Drew, I think he's going to go through him pretty quickly. It's not less slander to him. He's just very aggressive on these early runs, and I think he's using that right now. He's made a couple passes early on in this run here, or in this last restart. Made up a couple spots. But right now, he's got a lot of cars in front of him, and he might be able to go from 8th here to well into the top 5 if he can make a run on this high line. It seems like that's the place to pass at the moment, especially in 1 and 2. If you can get underneath someone in 3 and 4, you might be able to do something with it, as Josh Cottle looks to dive underneath Matt Campbell, and he does just that. They're going to be battling here for 6th. But I think these new tires, even though they're only about maybe 8 to 10 laps newer, they're definitely paying off at the moment for these guys in the last half of the top 10.
The longer this run goes, those 8 to 10 lap fresher tires will pay very big dividends here, as they will make that much of a difference in the grip levels of these cars between Drew and everybody else. So we'll see how well he takes care of them. But right now, again, very impressive run so far for Josh Caudle in that 13. He's making his way up through the field here, just gets himself just outside the top 5, and Cox is right on his rear bumper there. And here comes Ricky Harden, looking to follow all them through as they look underneath the 49. So all these guys right behind Casey Pierce are all for position, of course. Grayson Ward has opened up almost a second lead. He's got about an 0.8 of a second lead over Casey Pierce, and then literally everybody under a blanket here from 2nd on back. This appears to be 2nd through 10th on the grid here. So half the field right on your screen here. Landon Huffman and Casey Pierce at the head of it as they head off of turn 4.
About 2 seconds separate 2nd through 10th here. 9 cars underneath the proverbial blanket as Casey's starting to lose ground in the number 9 machine of Grayson Ward. Battle for position in the back of this top 10. Matt Campbell losing yet another potential spot here as Spencer Dickinson looks low on that green 49 machine. He was 7th. We just talked about him being making his way through this pack up front, but I think these new tires, these like 8 to 10 lap newer tires, are starting to finally mean a difference as he gets passed once again by another car. He's lost a handful of spots here in the last 5 laps or so. So expect these guys who have made that pit stop to start making more charges. Here comes Josh Cottle looking to get around Dylan Wilson. So we're going to start to see a lot of battles here, Sean.
So these guys right now up at the front, minus Caudle and Cox right now, are all on 40 lap old tires. So everyone in the top 5 is on older tires. Then you got Caudle, Cox, Harden, Dickinson, all on 25 lap or 27 lap old tires. So we're going to see how far these guys can go with their tire advantage. But right now they're making their way up through this pack, as right now Caudle looks to the inside of Dylan Wilson there, nothing doing. But here comes Landon to the inside of Casey Pierce. This is the battle for 2nd through 3 and 4.
Only a matter of time as Landon Huffman gets the advantage out of turn 4 and gets underneath that 18 machine of Casey Pierce. And Casey's going to concede both these spots, and he's potentially going to lose more spots as Andy goes to the outside looking to get around Landon. He's going to settle in 3rd for right now, but Casey Pierce might potentially go from 2nd outside the top 5. Big line of cars on this inside line, and it looks like Casey might have a little bit of a push. Might have used that right front a little bit more than he wanted to. He's fallen all the way back now to 5th. Here comes Josh Caudle underneath the under 18 machine. He's looking to get underneath. You got Drew Cox behind him, Ricky Harden, Spencer Dickinson. So tough break here for Casey. Looks like he finally gets a good run out of corner, and he might settle in line here. But he goes from 2nd, was leading pretty much this entire race. He is now fallen back to 5th as we have a new 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
As we've seen all season long, Andy Trupiano and Landon Huffman nose to tail once again here in the season finale. So none different here tonight. Landon needs to finish more than 2 spots ahead of Andy Trupiano to secure the championship. But as long as Trupiano stays right where Landon is at the racetrack, as he's done all race, Trupiano locks up his third consecutive championship. So just under 100 laps remaining here to settle it. We'll see how it unfolds. But right now, they're all chasing Grayson Ward, who's opened up a 1.3 second lead over Landon Huffman there as he goes just off screen there. There he is going into turn one. But right now, Huffman leads a whole line of cars. Second through 10th, I believe, is this group here. As there's your onboard shot from Grayson Ward. Nothing to worry about right now as we look back to a very distant Landon Huffman off of turn 4.
Looking at lap times, last time by, Grayson Ward ran a 4:51. Behind them, Landon Huffman ran a 23:60. And then behind him, Andy Trupiano ran a 4:80. So Landon's looking to turn up the heat right now, looking to catch that number 9 machine. I think he knows deep down having Andy right behind him means pretty much nothing. He's going to have a car separating those two cars to have any shot at this championship. So I think Landon's going to start pushing it here as we had contact in the back. I think that was Casey that struck the wall, trying to battle for 5th right now with Josh Cottle. Cottle has that advantage out of turn 2, and it looks like Cottle will get that position maybe as they go into turn 3. But it looked for Landon Huffman here, I think, to be a little bit more aggressive. I think he knows he's got to catch that number 9 machine. It's not only for the win, but it's essentially for the championship as well as he pushes into 1 and 2.
So it may seem like 93, 94 laps is a long time, but at North Wilkesboro, when you're going around this place at 19 to 20 second intervals, it is not that long at all. So Landon realizes he has to go to try to get that space, but Andy Trupiano again right behind him as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. This battle's still raging, by the way. Casey Pierce trying to keep the positions there off of turn number 2. It looks like he's going to fall in line, but Drew Cox on those fresher tires and Ricky Harden are right there to pounce. And Casey just a sitting duck right now, but he's doing a good job of fending these guys off on the top side, but that's only hurting his tires more and more.
Really curious of what happened with Casey's car. He was doing just fine up front. Maybe he was just playing really good defense and he was kind of holding these guys back. But Casey has fallen back in pretty quickly. I don't know if he's on the same set of tires as these guys ahead of him. Maybe he's just the victim of being on this high side, being stuck up there. But Casey is now fallen all the way back now to the 9th position, and he's looking to lose even more spots. Here comes Spencer Dickinson underneath him, and I would assume Matt Campbell would have something to say about passing him as well. But Casey is definitely the big loser on this restart. He has now lost 7 positions, actually 8 positions, as we've lapped 110 as Ricky Harden hits the wall out of turn 4, and he's about to wreck it. He's all over the place. He saved it, and that gives Casey the spot for now. That's going to be for 8th, and that allows Spencer to take underneath and get underneath Ricky Harden for 9th. But tough break right now on that number 18 car. He's lost a ton of ground to these leaders.
They don't call him hard in the wall for no reason, as Ricky proves right there. He's able to fall in behind Dickinson. That's going to hurt, though, as he's one of those drivers that are on newer tires, so that damage is not going to help him out at all. But Pierce is still plummeting through this field here. He's on 54-lap-old tires, and it looks like since he was running the higher lane, his tires are a lot more worn than all these other drivers here. And as we see, guys like Dylan Wilson, Trupiano, Huffman, Ward just pulling away from Casey. That's got to be frustrating. You're on the same tires as these guys, but they just keep pulling away from you. Sounds like my iRacing career in a nutshell. But back up front here, guys, Landon is starting to reel in Grayson Ward. I remember the gap was as much as 1.3 seconds. It is now down to about 0.7 of a second. So Landon gaining ever so slightly, but right in the rearview mirror of Landon, not within arm's reach, is Andy Trupiano. So Landon doing his job to try to get to the lead, but Trupiano is being his shadow so far in this race. Is just behind them. Dylan Wilson has a lot of pressure from Josh Cottle going into turn 1.
Josh Cottle looking to keep that momentum through the field. He is now working on Dylan Wilson. That'll be for 4th. Drew Cox looking to follow suit as well. So these guys have made it work. I was a little bit worried about these guys having to be in the back with only about 15 lap newer tires, but it looks like it's definitely paying off for these two. As Seth Harrelson, unfortunately, was just involved in an incident. He's now rallied back to 11th. He's actually gained time since he's wrecked. He was about 9 seconds back. He is now 8.5 back at the moment. So he's looking to rally back after that incident. But we keep our eyes on this number 13 machine at Josh Cottle. Rallied from about 15th on this last restart. He is now all the way into now 4th position as Dylan Wilson holds strong on that outside line.
But the longer these guys go side by side, the further away the top 3 get. So how long will it take for Josh Caudle to make the pass on Dylan Wilson? Dylan doing all he can to keep these guys at bay. And this is only keeping...
Oh, here
Pancari was yelling
Oh,
on the radio.
Pace is in the infield. He's spinning back onto the track. No caution. There it is. Caution out. See what happened here. We'll have to... That was... I don't know. That's 2 now. That should not have been a caution either, but we'll
Take
let
a
it
look
ride.
here. Number 1 car of Jacob Hayes. Did he have a little bit of help, or did he just clip the
Absolutely
grass?
not.
Oh, he just self-spins off of turn number 2.
Self-spun it right into the grass. No harm, no foul. No one's in the way. And I guess you could call a caution for that. He just makes a horrible merge back onto the track. But 1 car incident here in the back of the field, and that'll bring out another possible wrinkle here. To these guys in the front pit here, I'm really curious to see. With about 80 laps to go, I don't know if that's going to be too early to do that, but it's definitely something you might want to take a chance with if you're in the back. We'll have to see what happens here.
Well, you also run the risk if you're up front, you stay out. If we go green until the end of this thing, you're really putting yourself in a bad spot. As there you see the guys closer toward the back coming in. Ricky Harden is coming in. Casey Pierce coming in. I think Casey had to pit. His tires were just used up from what we were seeing. So also Matt Campbell is in. So 3 drivers that were toward the front come in. Everybody else stays out. And if this thing somehow, some way goes green, that could be the difference for those 3 drivers at the end here.
Yeah, if this ends up going green, like you mentioned, this could be a real game changer as far as who's up front at the end. It'll definitely be pretty similar, I would say, as far as the battle for the championship, especially with Landon Huffman and Andy Trupiano making the same strategy call here and staying out. But we'll have to definitely keep an eye on Matt Campbell, Ricky Harden, and Casey Pierce here. I believe they're going to be 14th, 15th, and 16th overall once things kind of sequence out, as some of these guys are still looking to pit. Jacob Hayes is back in the pits as well. It looks like that will be about it. So that'll put Casey in 13th, Ricky in 14th, and Matt in 15th. So I'm really curious to see how much faster these tires are going to be. When did these guys last pit? Around lap 60? So they got about 60 laps on their tires.
63 and 64 laps on their tires to be exact. Now the newest up front are still the batch of guys that pitted about 15 laps after those guys. So Josh Caudle, Drew Cox, Spencer Dickinson, those guys, and also Seth Harrelson as well, are all the guys on the freshest tires up at the front. But we're going to be watching the guys at the back that just pit. So Casey Pierce, Jacob Hayes, Matt Campbell, Ricky Harden, those 4 guys are all going to be on the freshest tires in the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how far these guys can go. Will they have any impact by the end of this thing? We should go to about around 80 laps to go before this thing is all said and done. Currently working 77, 78 laps to go now. So really going to be a fun race to the finish here. Will the new tires be able to get through the field? Will they be able to dodge any potential wrecks by chance? We'll find out here in about a half a lap's time as we're working the 1 lap to go signal. We'll be going green this time.
Quick run off of the top 10. Grayson Ward in first, Huffman second, Trupiano third, Wilson fourth, Caudle fifth, Cox sixth, Dickinson seventh, Harrelson in eighth, Pancari in ninth, and Eric Wilson rounds out the top 10. Pace truck is off. Make that sharp left-hand corner. And here goes Grayson Ward. Great restart in the number 9 machine. Landon Huffman looking to stay in front of that number 7 machine of Andy Trupiano, and it looks like he's going to do it for right now, as I have a dying parrot in the background as they go into turn 2.
Jarvis really making his presence felt here tonight, but the top 4 will get clear. Is just behind Dylan Wilson. Caged animals, it seems. Josh Caudle and Drew Cox, and they're wrecking in the back. Cars in the wall. There's a caution. They all saved it, though, so another one of those jump in the gun cautions here. So that is a questionable one. So we'll take another look and see what happened. It looks like it started with the 2 of Jack Bailey and the 4 of Eric Wilson going into 3 here. So watch the black and the red and white car in there. The 2 and the 4 get together. They saved it. No, not a lot of contact there. So that is another one of those questionable cautions, but nonetheless, that'll be caution, I believe, number 5 here tonight. And that even makes this race more interesting.
What's that old saying that DW used to say? They crashed, they just didn't wreck. I think that's a good instance of that, but definitely should not have been a caution. But that definitely re-racks things for these guys, and a couple of these drivers that pitted were involved in that. Ricky Harden looks like he doesn't have a ton of damage, but he was involved in that. Jack Bailey involved, Brian Smith involved, and a few others like Eric Wilson. But big beneficiary as far as positions are concerned. Looks like Casey Pierce will be in the 10th position, so he's already gained quite a few positions, maybe 9th even. So he's already benefited from having these new tires. He's going to have a handful of guys in front of him to have to pass, and we'll have to see how this works out over a long run. But if this thing goes green again, he definitely will have the advantage, especially over the guys who pitted at the same time as he did.
Working lap number 127 of the scheduled 200-lap distance here in the Blondies 200 tonight in the Windshield Deep Racing League live from the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway. Glad you guys are with us wherever you might be watching here, whether you're watching on Twitch, whether you're watching on Facebook. Appreciate you hanging out with us once again here. Hope you're enjoying the season finale of the Windshield Deep Racing League. Been an interesting year. A lot of storylines playing out here tonight, and we all get to see how it unfolds here this evening. Will we have a new champion? Will we have our third year repeating champion in Andy Trupiano? We will see. Field should be coming to the 1 lap to go signal here as they work their way off of turn number 4. Brief rundown again of the top 10. There you see Grayson Ward leading. Landon Huffman currently being shown in 2nd. Andy Trupiano, the point leader, in 3rd. Josh Caudle 4th. Drew Cox will be making up the 5th spot on those newer tires. Spencer Dickinson in 6th. Brett Pancari 7th. Seth Harrelson 8th. Brian Smith is 9th. And these are the guys we got to watch in this run. Casey Pierce and Ricky Harden. Those two guys have the freshest tires in the field. So we're going to see if they can make their way up to get into contention for this thing. But here we go. Field makes their way through turns 3 and 4. Pace truck will be ducking off this time. Coming to 60 some odd laps to go. I can't really see. I can't do math today, but here we go.
72.
Green flag is out. 72 laps to go here at North Wilkesboro. Green flag is out, and it looks like Ward will get the clear. But look at this. Andy Trupiano trying to make his way underneath Landon Huffman. Landon able to hold him off as they make their way into turn 3. It's getting closer and closer between these guys at the front.
Single file for the top 5. First battle be for 6. They're nearly 3 wide back there, but things close up front between Trupiano, Huffman, and Ward. Drew Cox also in the mix, Caudle in the mix. But here comes those new tires. Here comes Casey Pierce. He's looking to thread the needle. Seth Harrelson gets loose out of turn 2. He's going to have to navigate that high line to get around that 07 machine. Might have to do a crossover maneuver here to get underneath. Spencer Dickinson does that as they go 3 wide temporarily out of turn 4. Move Casey Pierce now into 7th. He is making his way through the field. Nearly hits Caudle into turn 1. That 18 machine is on a mission. He's on a mission to get to the front quickly here into turn 3 here, Sean.
Casey Pierce absolutely flying through the field as there you see a little further back with contact there. They're able to keep it going. Pierce looking to the inside of Drew Cox. This is going to be for the 4th position. Casey is absolutely motoring through this field. It's only a matter of time before he gets to the front here. And if this race stays green, that is going to be very difficult for these guys on older tires to get to him. And Casey, no trouble at all getting to the rear end of Andy Trupiano. Casey Pierce is a man on a mission into turn 1.
It is absolutely feast or famine as they're wrecking in the back once again. It looks like Jack Bailey and Ricky Harden involved in an incident into turn 1. We'll have to get a replay and see what was the cause of that, but a tough break for both of these drivers. I think they both were involved in that last incident as well. We'll have to just see what happens here. It looks like maybe Ricky hit the wall. Oh no, Jack Bailey
up on him,
got into the side of the 15 machine, sent both of them spinning out of turn 4, and that's, I hate to say it, but cautions have definitely been breeding these cautions. We've had a bunch of controversial calls tonight for non-incidents, and I believe that's starting to keep these guys closer than they probably should be, and that's what's bringing out these yellows.
Working another caution here at North Wilkesboro. We'll go ahead and take a quick breather here to go ahead and bring us down to the home stretch here in the Blondies 200. We're going to go side by side. You're not going to miss anything, the pit stops or anything. We'll be right back here to North Wilkesboro. Don't go away. back here at North Wilkesboro here for the conclusion of the Blondies 200 live for the season finale of season 3. The Windshield Deep Racing League live here on Windshield Deep. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. Sean Butler, Kevin McAdams, Zach Johnson here with you to bring you the rest of the action tonight. And interesting calls here by people under caution. We saw Landon Huffman come into pit. He saw those tires were really paying off for Casey, and he was very quick to get in the pit lane, but also followed him right through was Andy Trupiano as well. So this could be the difference in this race. How well do these guys get through the traffic here? We're going to wait and find out, but it's definitely going to be an interesting run to the finish.
I think it was good timing by Landon and Trupiano here, as well as the rest that came in. Picari came in, Brian Smith came in. Looks like once we kind of get back going here, it'll be around 60 laps to go, and that was what the first long green flag run was. So they have an idea of what they need to and what they don't need to do on these tires. So if this thing goes green, which the way things are, even if we have a non-caution, cautions have been thrown, so we'll have to see how that pans out. But if this thing has a long green flag run again, these guys know what to do. They've already driven through the field once, and they're going to have a slight advantage over some of these guys. Someone that pitted right before them, though, pretty lucky, I think, was that number 77 machine of Dylan Wilson. I think he was one of the only few lead lap guys who pitted right before this last caution. So he is now in 8th, just ahead of these two who are battling for the title. So a lot of different strategies right now as we hit 61 laps to go this time by.
So here we go. Pace truck should be ducking off this time by. We are getting ready to go back racing at North Wilkesboro. Green flag is out. Great start by Grayson Ward. He's going to clear. How will Casey Pierce fare in 1 and 2? He's got the freshest tires of everybody at the front. Grayson Ward on 82 lap old tires, looking to keep the lead. Here comes Pierce to the outside. Pierce on the fresh tires, looking back to the front. Ward on the bottom, trying to fend him off. They are 3 wide back there as Pierce and Ward still side by side into turn number 1, and they're still fanning out in the middle of the field.
Ton of action as they're battling from about 6th on back, but they're still side by side for the lead. Grayson Ward looking to fend off the 18 car, but here comes Casey Pierce on the high line. He takes over the lead with those much newer tires. Focusing back to the last half of this top 10, they're about 3 wide. Landon Huffman made a crazy move into turn 3 last lap to get underneath. I believe it was Jacob Hayes, but now he's looking for more. Trupiano gets a huge run on the outside of Dylan Wilson. They're going to be nearly 3 wide. He thinks better of it, and he's going to stand right behind that 77 car. But Landon Huffman has his aggression level at 100. He's looking to gap that Andy Trupiano machine. And right now, there's about 3 cars that separate the 2 championship contenders into turn 1.
Landon gets through the traffic. Trupiano still stuck in it. Trupiano trying to go through the middle. He goes right underneath Spencer Dickinson and Brett Pancari. Makes the move on Dickinson. Still trying to get by Pancari. He does. Still trying to split these guys. Trupiano needs to get up to Huffman and quick. And Huffman is just picking him up and putting him down. He makes his way up to 3rd. Trupiano's still having trouble with this traffic back here.
This may be the most important laps these guys have to run all season long. Andy Trupiano mired back in traffic behind one of Landon Huffman's teammates, and Dylan Wilson hits the curb right in front of Andy. Andy has to check up, nearly gets ran into from Brett Pancari, and right now, as we speak, it looks like Landon Huffman is the championship leader, and right now he's looking underneath Grayson Ward. That'll be a battle for 2nd, so it gives another advantage, another spot advantage over Andy Trupiano. These guys are still side by side. Dylan Wilson underneath Drew Cox. Josh Cottle is now falling back on the outside line. Andy Trupiano finally looking to get
trouble
some
on
air
the front stretch.
There's trouble in the back.
Spencer Dickinson is around the start-finish line. Caution is out. I think it was a single car accident. Didn't think he got any help. This looks like he lost it by himself off of turn 4. We'll get a replay here as watch that number 6 car on the bottom just gets too hard on the throttle there off the corner. And we've seen the exit of turn 4 is kind of tricky here at North Wilkesboro. It feels like it kind of flattens out at the very exit, and it's very easy for that rear end of these cars to kick out and for you to lose control. And it looks like that's exactly what happened there for Spencer. It doesn't look like there's a bunch of damage on that car, but he's able to keep it going. But that's going to slow the field once again and bunch them all back up as we slowly make our way to the end of this thing. And Grayson Ward looks like he's finally coming in and getting that last set of tires.
Yeah, some of these guys have definitely had enough on these old tires. So Grayson Ward going to concede his, I believe it was 3rd overall. A couple of these guys coming in. Let's see if they even have tires. Drew Cox has an extra set left. Seth Harrelson still has an extra set left, so they're coming in. Cottle has an extra set left. So some of these guys have a little bit newer tires than some of these guys who just pitted. So, and I'm really curious to see, we've talked about it, people driving their way through the front. The one guy we might have to look at the end of this race is that number 9 machine. It looks like a pretty good chunk of the field pitted here. So he's going to be around, I think looking at the math here, he'll be in 7th position at the very highest, maybe 8th. It looks like he'll be in 8th position on that outside of row 4. So I'll have to keep an eye on that number 9 machine. He's been the fastest car consistently all night long. And I see, even with these cars ahead of him, I think he's going to be able to cut through the field and compete for this win.
So the leaders I'm being shown right now, Casey Pierce is on 29 lap old tires, Landon Huffman 13 lap old tires, Dylan Wilson on 24 lap old tires, Brett Pancari, Brian Smith each on 13 lap old tires. Eric Wilson has 11 laps on his tires. Everybody else behind Eric Wilson is on a new set of tires. So 50 laps to go now here at North Wilkesboro to decide the championship. And of course, strategy is going to play a big part in it. But how do you think this is going to fare? Because the guys at the front have taken their final set of tires, you would believe, unless a couple of them maybe took 2 that we don't know about. But I think the guys that just pit right now have the most advantage out of all these guys.
I definitely would agree with you there, Sean. I think as you go closer to the front, I think looking at someone like Casey, he obviously has the lead right now, but he's got his work cut out for him. We saw in that one run, he was just terrible on older tires, and he's got a pretty significant disadvantage, not only behind with the guys behind him, but these guys who just pitted. So we may see that number 18 machine fall back considerably if we get a long run here. Even if we don't, I mean, he's made his bed. Unless these things equalize later on in this run, he's pretty much at a disadvantage from the rest of the race. So he's going to need something. He's pretty much going to need cautions all throughout this race and to hang on to the lead. But we'll just have to see how it plays out. Newest tire is going to be that number 9 machine outside row 4 and 8. So we'll have to see how this pans out.
Here we go. So under 50 to go here at North Wilkesboro to settle the championship. Green flag is out. A good restart by Pierce. He's going to clear Huffman. Huffman and Trupiano nose to tail once again as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. Huffman to the outside of Pierce for the lead as they head down the back. Huffman on those new tires. Can Pierce fend him off? What's it going to be like for the rest of the drivers here? The guys that have new tires. Look at the 9 cars split everybody 3 wide back there. Grayson Ward wasting no time trying to get up through the field. He's 3 wide right now at the 68 and the 13, and they're all over the place through 1 and 2.
Extreme urgency in the middle of the pack here as these guys are blocking up front. Trupiano nearly wrecks the number 75 machine of Landon Huffman. Huffman with a late block into turn 3, sideways in the back. Seth Harrelson nearly wrecks it and almost hits the barrels into the entry of pit road out of turn 4. He's going to save it. He's going to lose a ton of ground. They're still side by side all over the place right now. First battle for position between Brett Pancari and Dylan Wilson. That's currently a battle for 4th. Wilson has it, and Pancari wants it on that outside line as things finally starting to settle out just a little bit. But right now, the biggest beneficiary is that number 63 machine of Drew Cox. He pitted there on that last time by. He is now all the way up to 6, as well as Cottle up to 7.
Man, how about Casey Pierce on 16 lap older tires is able to fend these guys off with those newer tires. But right now the battle is we got a crash off of turn 4, and that's going to bring out another caution. It's the 68 of Brian Smith. And it looked like he got a little bit of help here. We'll see on the replay. And it looks like when we see the replay here, the 1 car of Jacob Hayes is the cause of this. Watch Jacob trying to swoop in under the 68, just bumps him a little bit, and that's enough to send him around. Doesn't look like much of anything on that caution either. Smith is able to keep it going, but nonetheless, we work yet another caution here. I believe we're at caution number 8 tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Can't complain too much about that. He did actually spin, but yeah, tough break for these guys up front. Probably just wanting this race to just transpire as it should. These guys just want to race for position, especially these guys on newer tires. Guys like Drew Cox, Josh Cottle, and Grayson Ward, they want to be able to take advantage of these nearly 15-lap newer tires with the guys in front of them like Huffman, Trupiano, Wilson, and Pancari. And then, of course, Casey Pierce, like you mentioned, he's going to have to play defense for at least 40 laps. But if these cautions keep coming out the way they are, he might be in the catbird seat. He's been really good at playing defense as far as being on that outside line. If he can keep the car on that second lane, especially in 1 and 2, if he can kind of keep the guy pinched down, he seems to do just fine, even if he's at a disadvantage. We'll have to see how it works out for him in the long run. But right now, Casey Pierce doing a fine job up front.
We saw earlier in the race too, Casey did a great job of playing defense against the 9 car of Grayson Ward earlier on in the race. So a little bit of a different animal when you got the 2 points leaders behind you battling for a championship, but we'll see what Casey can do. He's proven, as I said, in this race, he's able to fend guys off. And obviously the 9 car Grayson Ward very fast early on, so is Casey, but the cream has risen to the top, as we mentioned, in this race. So if Casey can somehow manage to hang on and win this thing on 16 lap older tires than our 2 championship leaders, that is a big statement by Casey Pierce, but we have to see. So quick update on the top 10. You can see it on the left-hand side of your screen. Casey Pierce is your leader. Landon Huffman second, Andy Trupiano third. As it stands right now, if unofficially, of course, Andy Trupiano and Landon Huffman are tied in the championship standings, but the tie does go to Andy Trupiano. So if they were to finish nose to tail as they are, Andy Trupiano will be your 3-time Windshield Deep Racing League champion, and Landon Huffman will yet again finish second. So Landon doesn't want to see that. He wants to finally break out and win the championship. Can he do it? He's got to get a car in between he and Andy, though.
Definitely, and it might have to be. This is definitely going to be an awkward situation. Casey Pierce and Landon Huffman, definitely very good friends, not only in the sim racing world, but they're very close in the real racing world. They both race at the same racetrack, and they've grown up together at Hickory Motor Speedway. So Casey obviously wants to win here, but Landon's probably willing to do anything to win this championship. He's fought tooth and nail for now 3 seasons to win one. So if he can get around this 75 or this 18 machine, I fully expect Casey to play a ton of defense for that number 75 car. We'll have to see how it transpires. We're going to be going 1 to go this time by. But the one thing that Andy definitely does not have compared to Landon is alliances. He's got Casey Pierce in front of him in the 18, and he has the number 77 machine of Dylan Wilson as they go green this time by. Sorry.
Green flag is back out. A great restart for Landon Huffman. He's going to be able to keep that high lane on Casey Pierce, but he's not going to keep the momentum through the corner. Pierce is going to clear. Back in battle for third, Dylan Wilson trying to be that car to get in between Andy Trupiano and Landon Huffman. He's not going to be able to do it, though. He's still fighting on the top lane, though. The newer tires are coming, as this is where the money is made in this season. We got a little bit of an issue for Trupiano off of 2. He doesn't get the traction. He's going to be stuck still fighting Dylan Wilson for third.
Trupiano clipped the grass out of turn 2, nearly lost it underneath Dylan Wilson. Looks to finally get around that 77 machine, but here comes Drew Cox. Drew Cox has the newest set of tires here in the top 5, and he's looking to make his way through the field. Right behind the number 7 machine of Trupiano. He is all over the back of him. He has a great run through the middle. He's going to be a little bit patient as these guys go single file through 3 and 4, looking low on that number 7 machine. There he goes. Here comes Drew Cox. As of right now, they're still tied for the championship, but here comes the 63 on the inside.
Drew Cox is going to need to try to make his way to the outside of Trupiano if he wants a chance to pass. Trupiano been too strong when defending his position tonight. Again, we mentioned Drew has the fastest or newest set of tires, I should say, as he moves Trupiano in 1 and 2. Trupiano going to keep the spot. Great car control by both of those guys as they still keep racing. What a job by Trupiano, but Drew Cox is not finished yet. He still wants to get to that podium spot.
Drew Cox says, what championship battle am I going to have to worry about, as he almost nails the number 7 machine last time by into turn 1. A little bit of a gap between the front 4 now, as the number 18 machine of Casey Pierce starts to pull away just a little bit around on Landon Huffman, but Drew Cox still hounding that number 7 machine, maybe looking to the outside line. Trupiano once again having to deal with that number 77 car. Cox sends it underneath the number 7 machine. They're going to be dead even out of turn 2, and Cox is loose out of turn 2.
Drew Cox giving it all he's got on those newer tires. He wants to get the job done now, and it looks like he will. Off of turn 4, Drew Cox successfully makes the pass. I think there's a bit of trouble in the back, and there is. It looks like it was the 4 of Eric Wilson, was four-wheel drifting through turns 3 and 4, and I think he finally overcorrects and brings out another caution here. Oh my goodness, a little bit of an incident here. We'll get a replay on it, but that is definitely not what Andy Trupiano wanted to see. As we get a look at the Eric Wilson incident, just overcorrects right in front of Brian Smith, and Smith kind of finishes him off at the exit of turn 4. But man, what a run that was for those guys. And if I'm at the front, if I'm Casey Pierce and all of them, I kind of view this caution as a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, definitely. We saw things get pretty crazy at the front. And one thing that did happen right before that caution came out, Drew Cox P3 at the moment in that 63 machine. So, I mean, I think he's going to continue to make his way through the front. But as it stands right now, Landon Huffman's going to have to play defense on that 63 machine. And if this stands, it is a 1-point lead for Landon Huffman. If he lets that 63 by and Andy holds that 4th position, it goes back to a tie. And as we mentioned over and over again, Sean, the tie does go to Trupiano. It cannot get any closer than it is right now for the front in the championship.
Well, we kind of predicted it at the start of the race. Landon and Andy would be right on top of each other at the end of this thing, and look how it's shaken up. Drew Cox is the difference, though, in this battle. So Landon needs at least one car in between he and Andy Trupiano to take the championship away, but he doesn't have very many more cars he can put in between them. So we've seen on these restarts, Andy and Landon have been very strong, but Casey Pierce has been very good at holding these guys off on those older tires. So what a job by Casey. We got to give credit where credit is due to the number 18 machine of Casey Pierce. But great job by everybody so far at the front of this field. It has been very exciting, and we still got about 28 laps left as we work our way to lap 173 on the board.
Yeah, it looks like we'll have 27 to go, as I believe they're about to go 1 to go this time by. No, not yet. It looks like we're going to be 2 to go this time by. So I think this plays into the hand of Casey for sure. He's been very fast on these short runs, qualified 3rd tonight, de facto pole sitter due to Andy Trupiano having to go to the back of the field. And he's been pretty much up here all night, minus that really strange run where he just lost a ton of time. Not sure exactly what happened, but he's now rallied his way back due to that pit call, rallied his way through the field on those newer tires. He's having to play defense now on slightly older tires than Landon Huffman. We mentioned a little bit earlier, about 16 laps older than the guys behind him. But then behind Landon, Drew Cox has 29 lap newer tires than Casey, and Drew's going to be right behind him here on this restart. I think the beneficiary, not only because things kind of re-rack and keep things close, but I think Drew Cox is going to be the beneficiary here just because he's going to be on that inside line and get underneath Landon Huffman potentially.
Beautiful aerial shots brought to you by the Total Advantage Airship just a little bit ago here at North Wilkesboro. So here we go. We're getting ready for what would be probably one of the many restarts at the end of this race. We'll have to wait and see, though. But still, Casey Pierce, Landon Huffman on the front row. Pace truck will duck off again. Great restart for Pierce. Huffman, not as good a restart as he's been getting. That's going to open the door for Drew Cox to the inside on those fresher tires. Huffman might have a good run off the corner, and he does. He gets back to 2nd. Trupiano, though, side by side with Cox for 3rd, rather, as they make their way into turns 3 and 4.
Oh, Grayson Moore got really loose behind this battle for 3rd. Here comes Drew Cox underneath Andy Trupiano, looking to maintain that 3rd position. Andy gets a great run. Exit to turn 2. Oh, big contact in the back, or in the front here. Landon Huffman got really loose. I don't know if he hit the 18 or what happened there, but that checked up the entire field. And the biggest loser is Drew Cox. He's going to fall back to 4th, and he's still trying to save it. Andy Trupiano looking to get on the outside now of Landon Huffman. And as it stands, he's the leader. But if he can get in front of Landon Huffman, that would spell a big loss for that Landon Huffman machine. As we're going to be 23 laps to go next time by.
Oh my goodness, this is oh, we got a little bit further incident in the back there. Josh Caudle sliding through 3 and 4. He saves it, but here up front, the implications are unfolding. Here comes Trupiano to the inside of Huffman, looking to seal the championship. But man, Huffman slams the door on Trupiano. So Huffman maintains that 2nd position. Trupiano falls in behind, but Drew Cox is still all over the rear end of Andy Trupiano, as well as the 9 of Grayson Ward is there. They're on the newer tires, but this is starting to get very tight with a lot of the line here down the backstretch. We're coming down to 20 to go here at North Wilkesboro.
12 races, 180 laps into the season, and they are tied for the championship. Drew Cox nearly wrecked Andy Trupiano. It cannot get any closer than this as we hit 22 laps to go. Landon Huffman now looking to rally after that contact with Casey Pierce. He's looking to get around that 18 machine and take matters into his own hands all over the back of that 18 machine into turn 3. Trupiano sends it in. Drew Cox looking to get underneath Andy Trupiano. This is an absolute gaggle for the front first 5.
20 laps to go here in season 3. Both of the championship contenders running nose to tail. Can they do what they need to do to win for themselves? We are going to find out, but there's a couple guys looking to play spoiler right behind. Drew Cox in that number 63, Grayson Ward in the 9, their newer tires looking to play an advantage on these drivers up at the front. But I got to give a big shout out to Casey Pierce, has the oldest tires out of everybody up at the front here, and he is still looks very, very strong towards the closing part of this race. As we're looking on board right now from what would be current champion Andy Trupiano as it sits now, looking back at Drew Cox. Drew has pretty much memorized the entire rear end of that 7 car. Look to the inside there. Trupiano shuts the door. Cox has to reload and try to make another move, but they have to make the move now if they ever want to. But time is quickly running out here, Kevin.
Oh, my heart rate is starting to raise just because of how intense this battle is. Here comes Drew Cox once again, all over the rear end of Andy Trupiano, looking to play spoiler, as you mentioned, Sean. He's looking for third. Things starting to settle out just a little bit, gap out just a little bit for the lead. Casey Pierce, resilient on those older tires. He's looking to maintain that lead over Landon Huffman, and Landon Huffman just knows he's only got 16 laps to go to make things happen. He's all over the back of the 18 machine. And behind them, here comes Grayson Ward looking to battle for position. He gets underneath Drew Cox. Those guys make contact into turn 2. Going into turn 3, he takes over the 4th position. Here comes Grayson to look back and take the lead.
Grayson Ward has been one of the strongest cars all night. Finally finds himself back towards the front of the field. 15 laps to go here in season 3. Landon Huffman closing in on Casey Pierce. If Landon wants to win the championship, he needs to pass Casey Pierce without Trupiano passing him as well. So Huffman trying to cool the tires down enough to make a run at Casey Pierce. Can he do it to win his first championship? But behind him, Trupiano has a rear windshield full of Grayson Ward. And if Andy Trupiano lets Grayson Ward behind him, he could kiss this year's championship goodbye. So lots of stories playing out here at the front. Who has got what for who as we come down 14, now 13 laps to go. As here comes Ward to the inside of Trupiano. This is huge. Can Ward get it? And he can't. Trupiano holds him off. But man, Trupiano needs to stay in front of Ward badly as they make their way off of 4.
2 crucial battles for position on your screen. Landon Huffman trying to take matters into his own hands and get around that 18 machine of Casey Pierce. Grayson Ward looking to take that position away from Andy Trupiano. Trupiano playing fantastic defense at the moment around that number 9 machine as they start to close up on Landon Huffman. So let's see if we can get back up to that. But right now, the 2 biggest battles are going to be for third and for first. We're not going to miss a second of this battle for the lead and for the championship.
We are with you to the very end here until the checkered flag drops. What is going to play out here at North Wilkesboro? Will Landon Huffman be able to get by Casey Pierce? Will Trupiano get by Huffman? Will Ward get by Trupiano? Lots of different unfolding stories here as we work our way. 10 laps to go here in the season as Trupiano gets loose. That's going to open the door for Ward. He doesn't have it. And if Grayson Ward were to pass Trupiano now, that would be huge for Landon Huffman's title hopes.
Landon Huffman is Grayson Ward's biggest fan as he's trying to battle for Casey Pierce's
Here we go.
top spot. He gets underneath Casey, but Casey gets that very important run off the corner. He gaps Landon Huffman by about 2 car lengths into turn 3. Landon dives it in, looking to try and use those front tires to his advantage. Has about 16 laps on Casey in terms of newness. But right now, Casey Pierce playing fantastic defense in the lead, has that clean air over Landon Huffman. But behind them, these guys are still battling for third. Grayson Ward with that damaged front end all over the rear end of Andy Trupiano as they're going to be 7 laps to go. with one championship on the line here, Sean.
Two drivers right by each other for the title. What is Landon going to do to try to get by Casey Pierce? We've seen time and time again, he gets right there, but Casey just too good on the exit of the corners as Huffman nearly scrapes the wall there. And this is getting too close for comfort here. If Huffman wants to get this title wrapped up, he needs to make some moves, and he needs to get to the back of Casey Pierce now. But what will he do as Casey blinks out? Casey Pierce is gone.
Uh-oh.
What is going on here? That is not what Landon wants to see. As here comes Trupiano all over the rear bumper. What is happening right now?
Another oh my God, 2 weeks in a row, the leader is gone, and that completely changes everything. Landon Huffman now your leader, Andy Trupiano in second, Grayson Ward now in third. Everything in the hands of Grayson Ward as he's all over the back of Andy Trupiano, and Trupiano's laying the chrome horn to Landon Huffman as they hit 4 laps to go this time by.
Oh, that is such a bummer for Casey Pierce, one of the more dominant cars. Trupiano tries the top, and he gets there. Andy Trupiano's got a fender on the outside as he's in the wall. Here comes Ward to the inside. This is Landon Huffman's meal ticket to the championship. Can Ward get it done? Huffman still the leader. Ward is going to clear him off of 4. Trupiano still with the run on the top. 3 laps to go at North Wilkesboro.
3 laps to go this time by. Right now at the moment, Grayson Ward in second, but here comes Trupiano back for the second position, back to a tie in the points as they hit 2 laps to go this time by. If Grayson Ward can get around that number 7 machine, it is all Landon Huffman. But right now, Landon Huffman has a rear full of Andy Trupiano. He hits contact. Oh, here comes Andy Trupiano on the inside with 2 to go.
Trupiano looking for the lead to put a stamp on the season. Huffman trying to hold him off on the outside. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go at North Wilkesboro as they head off of 4.
1 to go this time by. This is for the title. This is for the win. Here comes Landon Huffman back on that outside line. Andy Trupiano has the advantage entering turn 1. Here they come out of turn 2. Big advantage for Andy Trupiano as they go into 3 for the final time.
Huffman with a final dive into turn 3. Trupiano makes the pass, and Andy Trupiano is a 3-time windshield deep champion. He wins the Blondies 200 at North Wilkesboro and seals up title number 3. Unbelievable. What a race. What a drive by Trupiano. Leads 1 lap in the race, and that is the lap that matters. Andy Trupiano once again, your 3 straight time windshield deep racing league champion. What a race.
He has been quiet. He has been consistent. We can add another adjective to Andy Trupiano. He has been clutch. Every single season he has faced competition to the absolute closest level you can here in the windshield deep racing league. 1 point separated him from Landon Huffman, and he absolutely did everything perfect. He led 1 lap tonight, and that was for the win, and that clinched everything he needed for his 3rd straight championship. He is the only driver in the Windshield Deep Racing League that can say, I am champion season after season after season. What a run by Andy Trupiano.
3 runs through seasons in this league. Nobody has been able to take Andy Trupiano off of the title. And we're going to have him in here in just a second to get a word. But here are your final results. Andy Trupiano wins the race, wins the championship. Landon Huffman again settles for 2nd in the points. That has got to be rough on Landon. We know how competitive he is. Grayson Ward with a great run in 3rd. Josh Caudle 4th. Drew Cox will finish 5th. Dylan Wilson will come home in 6th. Spencer Dickinson 7th. Ricky Harden 8th. Seth Harrelson 9th. And Brian Smith will round out the top 10. But I think, Kevin, you caught up with Andy Trupiano. So let's go ahead and send it to you.
Well, let's do a quick mic check here, Andy. Do you have us?
Yep.
Well, Andy, we were, at least I was, my heart rate was through the roof those last 25 laps. And you know, we thought for a moment you might have been playing a little bit conservative there, just trying to keep Landon within your sights. You had to pretty much tie him to win the championship, but you took matters into your own hands and passed him there. Tell us about those last 50 laps or so.
Yeah, honestly, I was getting pretty worried that last run. I had him where I wanted him for the first, 2 2/3 of the race, but after that last pit stop, he kind of pulled a gap on me, and I was getting worried. So yeah, no, I had a lot of fun racing him there. I appreciate him running me clean, and yeah, that was a great time.
Well, man, you know, one thing that I've mentioned is that you're a very consistent driver. You can pull top fives like nobody else in this league, but you had 5 wins this year, and I think that definitely brought the difference. Normally, you know, even last year, I don't even think you had a win, but you still pulled out a championship. Tell us in terms of that, how, even though, you know, the field sizes got smaller, it seemed like the competition, especially between you and Landon, got so close. So tell us about just that adversity all season long and knowing that you had to beat him week in and week out like you had to tonight.
Oh yeah, he definitely gave me a run for my money this year, so that's for sure. You know, pretty much everything I did, he shadowed me, and you know, hey, I was able to keep the lead somehow. It was a great time, yeah.
Well, Andy, you're the only person that can claim the title of Windshield Deep ONEwraps Cup Clash champion. I'll let you have the mic here to give your thanks and shout outs. Take it away.
I'd like to give a shout out to my team, Lowline Racing, and our sponsors, DM Software Development, Top Gun Athletics, and I don't know who else, but and of course, you know, you guys up in the booth, and you know, Landon and Dylan and everybody who runs the league. I had a really good time running with everybody the past few seasons.
I have one final question for you. If there's a season 4, will you defend your title for a 3rd time?
I definitely will.
You got to, man. It's 3-time champ. You have to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm lost for words. That was an absolute great battle. Thanks, Andy, and I think from me, Sean, and Zach, congratulations to the fullest.
I appreciate it.
It's Andy Trupiano, everybody. 3-time Windshield Deep Racing League champion. And we'll go ahead and I'll see if we can't bring Landon up in here as well to get some words with him. Landon, we yanked you up here again, man. You got us?
Man.
Well,
Yeah.
it was. We know you would be a little dejected here. We know how competitive you are, but man, what a race it was. You fought to the very end. You put up an awesome battle there, but right at the end there, just the chips didn't really fall where they were. So how you feeling about this race, and what are you looking forward to later on in this thing?
I felt like I did everything that I was supposed to do. I intentionally didn't pass Casey when I was running behind him because I knew that at the end of the race, I had to separate myself by at least one spot. And if I won, I knew Andy was, or if I just drove around him, I knew Andy was just going to drive around him too. So I just rode there and I did everything that I needed to. And then Drew started racing Andy, which was perfect. Then Grayson started racing him. And I had Casey where I wanted him. And then, of course, his internet craps the bed. So, you know, what are the chances of that? That's awesome. I love that. That's just perfect for my luck. And then at the end of that, I could have won. But if I would have just ran off, I knew I had to do something to get Grayson in the battle. So I backed up to Andy trying to run the top, at least just get in his way to allow Grayson to run the bottom because I knew Grayson was on better tires. So I don't know, man. That was so intense. I wanted to win so bad, but I couldn't just win the race. I had to try to get the 9-car in the battle. So that was probably the most intense thing I've ever done on this server or on this service. And I had a blast doing it. Andy's a hell of a wheel man. And that was one of the most fun races I've ever had on iRacing as well. So, man, I don't know. I felt like I did everything right. I feel like if Casey's internet doesn't crap, then I'm in a good position. But if frogs had wings, they wouldn't bump their ass every time they jump. So,
absolutely. But man, I kind of felt like you were doing that too. If there's one thing that's been constant for you, you're probably the best strategist in the field here, and you were doing everything right at the end there. But man, that's 2 weeks in a row that one of the more dominant cars had internet issues there, and it just happens to Casey pretty much at the worst possible time. But we were talking about it. You know, it looked like you were trying to set Casey up to pass him with the least amount of time left, and you executed everything perfectly. It just cards didn't really fall where they may. But another P2 for you, still another solid run in the championship. But if there's a season 4 of this thing, how much harder are you going to go to get that title away from Andy?
Just looking back on this season, there's always one or two dumb races that ends up killing me in the points, and I can pinpoint a few of those. But Talladega never seems to be my strong suit. I always end up in the back there, and it's just frustrating. But this series is fun. We get to race against real life drivers that we race against, in the real world, and they get to come to iRacing and have some fun in our wheelhouse, and that part of it makes it cool. But we also have iRacers that are really good, like Andy, who have an opportunity to race with us, and we have real money on the line, so that makes it fun. And honestly, this season's had some of the best racing that the Windshield Deep Racing League's had ever. So just thank you to all the drivers that participated each week. This was a long 13-week season, and they hung in there and showed up every week. And I feel like I'm confident to say this is the best 1987 league on iRacing, and there will be a fourth season. It'll probably be about 6 weeks from now, and we're going to do a little in-between season, so we've got some stuff to broadcast and have some fun with that, but we will be back.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely one of the better, probably the best season in this league's short history. Is very entertaining to watch, especially this race. So if you're on the fence watching this, trying to think about joining this league, go ahead, give it a try. It's one of the best 87 leagues, as Landon said. And if tonight didn't prove that, I don't know what will. But Landon, we'll get you the mic again. If everyone missed what you mentioned earlier in the broadcast here, what do we got coming up in the near future for Windshield Deep?
So we're going to be a little 6-week series in the off season of our 87 Cup Clash. It's going to be a WDRX series. So we've got a 1990 vintage car on iRacing that, typical to the brand, but it looks like the new SRX cars. So I think we're going to do a cool little series where it has 2 dirt tracks, 2 ovals, and 2 road courses to fill the off season. We'll have a points and a potential payout for that, obviously. And then we're also going to have another big money Windshield Deep event, super late model race in the meantime, most likely here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. So we've got some cool stuff going on. And then obviously in about 7 weeks time, we'll be back here for another season of the Windshield Deep Racing League. So if you're interested in competing in this series or anything that we do through Windshield Deep, just make sure you follow us on Twitter, or like the Facebook page if you're already there watching, and message us for details moving forward. But everything will be posted on our social outlets.
Well, Landon, another great job this season. Very well executed season on all fronts, officiating, drivers, very fun to watch, and very excited for season 4 coming up and what we got in the meantime. So congrats on P2, man. Go get him again next year. And Dylan's in here. Is there any reason why Dylan's kind of?
I was gonna say also thank you to you guys for doing this shit every week. These are the unsung heroes. Everyone that's watching, make sure you give Sean Butler, Kevin McAdams a follow, and Zach Johnson as well on all social medias. They do an excellent job. They're also a frequent on Bottom Split, the Twitch channel. So if you're not following Bottom Split, make sure you go do that as well.
Oh, stop it! You're too kind. You're far too kind. But Dylan, who the hell let you in here?
I'm just here because I'm sweating. I've been sweating for 150 laps. First 50 was calm and cool. Then 150 laps in, my you guys call Landon my teammate. We're not really teammates whatsoever. I would call us more bitter rivals than anything.
Really?
But he did jump in my Discord and gave me flack for spinning and qualifying. So at that point on, I was rooting on Andy as much as I could, giving as many breaks as possible. So congrats to Andy, the Jimmy Johnson of the WDRL. Who knows what's next for him?
So now we have to take a loan out.
Speaking of that, we're going to do a live stream to raise money tomorrow to pay Andy's salary. So if you guys want to tune into that, we're going to start a GoFundMe for Andy Trupiano because we can't pay him.
Yeah, I'll be selling all my equipment.
Oh man, yeah, you got a few die casts in there. You got a few die casts in the room there, Landon. I think you might have to part ways with a few of those, or maybe even more stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Seriously though, thanks guys. You guys did a killer job all year. If anybody needs some broadcasting work, hit these fellas up. They know what they're doing. We make it probably really hard on them. We wait at last minute, send them logos last minute and everything, and they always jump in and do a good job. So appreciate you guys for knocking it out of the park again. For the 3rd season in a row, and we'll hopefully, if you'll have us, we'll continue to use your services.
I'll have my people contact your people. We'll go from there.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. We'll have a meeting.
Looking forward to it. But guys, I think that's going to wrap up our coverage of season 3. Again, thank you guys for having us. It was a blast doing this, especially this race. This was an awesome race, and thanks to everyone for watching again, whether you're watching on the Facebook, Twitch, appreciate you guys hanging out once again. For Kevin, Zach, myself, Landon, Dylan, thank you guys for all tuning in, and we will catch you guys down the road. Everyone have a great week, and don't get wrecked too much at Talladega. It's not going to be very good. But until then, guys, till next time, have a good one. Take it easy.
Goodbye.